Imagine a world crying out for salvation, yet the destined savior turns his back on fate to embrace a quiet life. While he tends to his humble crops, the bewitching demon queen rises, plunging the realm into absolute chaos. She unites every race under her dark banner, crushing humanity into slavery, with no one left to oppose her reign. All while the legendary one basks in the tranquility of his farm, indifferent to the burning world outside. However, the queen's ambition is not merely to rule, but to prove she is the apex predator of existence. She scours the lands for this so-called legend, but the truth she uncovers is far more complex than she anticipated. Let us set the stage in a realm teeming with every fantasy race imaginable, from lowly humans to majestic dragons. A grand alliance of all species once stood against the demon queen, desperate to halt her advance. Yet her dark army obliterated them with terrifying ease, breaking the spirit of resistance until only surrender remained. Amidst this turmoil, Elizabeth, the most powerful demon queen in history, ascends to the throne of the world. As she sits as the supreme ruler of all creation, a lone priest dares to speak of a lingering hope. He warns her, "Elizabeth, do not be arrogant. The hero of prophecy will surely come to bring about your downfall." Suddenly, a minion strikes the priest down. This enforcer is a fallen human, once trained to be that very savior. He has betrayed his own kind for power, transforming into a demon to silence the voice of the prophecy. Just as he moves to execute the priest, the queen commands him to halt, intrigued by this talk of defeat. She demands the filthy human explain this legend that claims a mere mortal could ever rival her power. She threatens him with 1,000 forms of torture far worse than death should he dare to lie. The priest reveals that when the true hero draws the sacred sword from the stone, humanity's counterattack will begin. He points to the central hall where the blade rests. Elizabeth strides toward it, her aura shaking the room. She glares at the weapon, realizing her death is tied to its release. A twisted smile forms on her lips. She mobilizes her entire legion, waiting for the ultimate challenger. 1 year passes in tense silence. 2 years fade. Then 3. 4. By the 15th year, the guards have grown lazy and bored at their posts. Where is this legendary warrior? Civilization has stabilized, and the chaos of war has become a distant memory. Ironically, under the Demon Queen's rule, trolls, elves, and humans now coexist in a strange, perfect harmony. The populace has grown comfortable. They fear the hero's return would only shatter this peace and bring fresh ruin. A faction opposing the hero's arrival is born. The people now view their potential savior as a threat to their safety. Back in the throne room, the queen demands updates. "Has anyone found the bastard who is supposed to kill me?" The elf reports that she has whispered to every plant and insect, yet nature itself remains silent on his location. The dwarf admits that despite checking every forge and armory, no legendary weapons have been commissioned. The human traitor scoffs, claiming it is a waste of time to worry about a ghost who has clearly abandoned his duty. He believes the hero stands no chance against the queen's majesty, urging her to forget this foolish legend. But the bold general warns him to silence his tongue. The queen does not fear the prophecy. She craves it. She desires a worthy opponent to validate her existence. Her bloodlust has gone unsated for far too long. The elf nervously suggests the prophecy might be a lie, that perhaps this hero never existed at all. Suddenly, the priest who once preached doom returns, now holding a sign for the Anti-Hero Arrival Association. He has completely changed sides, but the queen, consumed by rage, seizes him with her magic. She demands answers. "You promised a warrior would come to pull this accursed sword. Where is he hiding?" Her number one fan stammers that her power is simply too absolute, that destiny itself is too terrified to act. He claims humanity failed to produce a champion capable of standing in her magnificent shadow. The traitor agrees, showering her with praise, assuring her that she has transcended the need for a rival. In response, he receives a brutal tail slap to the face. She pins the priest to the wall, her patience gone. She has conquered the world, yet without this victory, her pride remains fragile. She must crush him to be truly supreme. She screams that she mastered apocalyptic magic solely to duel him, yet he mocks her with his absence. Turning her gaze to the sealed blade, she makes a shocking decision. If he will not come to her, she will go to him. The court watches in horror as the demon queen grabs the hilt, attempting to force Destiny's hand herself. "Your Majesty, cease this madness. That blade is a cursed artifact meant to consume your very soul." Violent energy erupts, shattering the atmosphere. The demon queen stands unfazed while her subjects are sent flying by the shockwaves, desperately shielding themselves. She unleashes a second devastating wave of dark aura, obliterating the entire castle in a cataclysmic explosion. From the dust, she draws the Sword of Prophecy, a weapon that legend says only the true hero can wield. In that instant, she feels the blade resonate, its thirst, calling out to a specific master. Her terrifying gaze scans the globe, locking onto a humble shack on a remote farm in the middle of nowhere. So she whispers with a chilling smile, "This is where you have been cowering." Without hesitation, she tears a hole in space to teleport. Her generals plead, "Your Majesty, wait, let us accompany you into battle," but Queen Elizabeth is already gone. Meanwhile, we witness the idyllic life at that tiny farmhouse. A young man sits peacefully wiping sweat from his brow beneath a straw hat, murmuring, "Ah, nothing beats the tranquility of the harvest." It is hard to believe, but this simple peasant is actually the legendary S-class hero. We see his past life. Before his transmigration, he was a corporate slave grinding away daily with zero hobbies. He never gamed, never read fantasy novels. His only escape from the gray reality was watching farming videos on social media during his commute. He always daydreamed, "If only I could escape this rat race and live off the land, life would be paradise." And then, fate answered. He was summoned to this fantasy realm. The tutorial system guided him through basic survival, teaching him weapon mastery and hunting techniques. He absolutely loved it. This was the rustic dream he had always craved. However, the system soon began, pinging him with notifications, "Congratulations, hero tutorial complete. Proceed immediately to the main quest," but he just frowned. "Why would I embrace the path of bloodshed? My spirit finds tranquility here in the soil. I possess zero motivation for your grand crusade." The system panicked, explaining, "Once you leave the beginner zone, you will meet allies, unlock god-tier magic, and master the art of the sword. You will ascend to become the supreme hero and slay the demon queen." It begged him, "Please initiate your adventure." But his resolve was like a mountain. "I have no interest in regicide. Let the demon queen rule. I simply desire to tend to my crops in silence." But the system was relentless. "Error, you cannot refuse. The world is in peril. You must slaughter the darkness. Start the adventure. Start the adventure." It spammed his interface daily. However, the protagonist soon realized that aside from being annoying, the system was powerless to force him. So he chose to stay in the tutorial area forever. Since this is the beginner village, it is shrouded in an absolute barrier to protect novices, making it undetectable to the outside world. Furthermore, time flows differently here to aid cultivation. The days are stretched, allowing him to farm, forge, and meditate endlessly within a single sun cycle. Sure, he remains ignorant of advanced magic or martial arts, but he does not care. He has no intention of stepping into the chaos of the outside world. He is content with his slow life mastering the Tao of farming. But one day the system finally snapped. It began cursing him, screaming that he was wasting legendary points on fertilizer instead of holy weapons. "You are a disgrace to all heroes," it shrieked. "You were summoned to bring balance, not to grow vegetables." Overwhelmed by sheer frustration, the system suffered a critical failure and self-destructed. Since that day, the blue screens vanished, and his life became a true paradise. We cut to the present. He finishes his daily harvest, thinking about lunch, when he realizes he left his hatchet in the woods. He turns to retrieve it, but suddenly the heavens begin to scream. Dark clouds swirl with ominous energy. Oh no, he thinks, not now. High above, Queen Elizabeth descends like a goddess of war, her voice booming. "I have finally found you, the prophesied threat to my reign." But our hero is sprinting in panic, not because of her, but because he left dried fish on the clothesline. "If that storm hits my laundry, and my dinner will be ruined." He frantically snatches the items from the line, sighing in relief. "Thank the heavens I made it. Wet fish would be a tragedy, and I would be naked tomorrow without these clothes." Beside him, his mechanical golem dog begins to bark aggressively. The protagonist shushes him. "Get inside, boy, it is going to pour." But the metallic hound refuses, gesturing frantically toward the sky. The hero finally glances up, squinting. What is that thing floating up there? The sun. The demon queen, hearing this insult, feels a vein pop in her forehead. A thing. You dare address the demon monarch as a thing. He realizes she is getting agitated and waves awkwardly. "My bad, you were just a blur from down here." The queen decides to test his identity immediately. She flings an object toward him. It streaks through the air, and shockingly, the sword stops hovering around him before forcefully binding itself to his hand. The resonance is undeniable. He is the hero. But our protagonist is terrified. He tries to shake the weapon off like it is a venomous snake. "Take it back. I do not want this dangerous metal." The queen watches his rejection, her eyes narrowing. He refuses the blade. Is he mocking me? Does he believe he can defeat Elizabeth, the calamity of ages, without even a weapon? She charges up her magic. "I will obliterate you where you stand." The protagonist is trembling, confused, because the system promised this zone was hidden. The mechanical dog continues barking at the hovering menace, and finally, the reality sets in. The hero sighs, realizing that you cannot outrun destiny forever. The prophecy has come knocking at his door. With zero hesitation, he discards his blade and turns his back on the battlefield, radiating the aura of a man who has accepted his destiny. "Death comes for us all," he mutters, "so I shall greet the reaper in the comfort of my own home." He believes himself powerless, possessing no cultivation and zero mana, so he decides to simply lie down and wait for the end. However, through the Demon Queen's eyes, this surrender looks like the ultimate display of disrespect. To her, his silence screams, "You are not even worth raising a sword against." It implies his mechanical pet alone is enough to handle a being of her stature. "Come at me with your full might," his back seems to taunt. Her Majesty's pride shatters. This cursed hero dares look down on me. Rage flares as she summons a catastrophic meteor shower to obliterate his dwelling. Yet, the small mechanical guardian instantly analyzes the threat. Calculating trajectories in a nanosecond, it unleashes a storm of anti-magic missiles, intercepting every single meteor. The queen freezes, her mind reeling. I never expected the hero of legends to be this arrogant. You honestly intend to rely on a sentient artifact to fight me? In the face of true royalty, all tools are garbage. The sky warps into a bruising shade of violet as she channels a forbidden spell, declaring that she is done playing children's games. But the little dog runs the numbers once again. It conjures a sphere of absolute darkness, a singularity, and launches it directly at her attack. She laughs, warning the beast not to defy her, for her spell carries enough energy to wipe this continent off the map. But the moment that black sphere makes contact, it becomes a voracious void. It swallows the queen's mana, instantly erasing her attack from existence. She stares at the house, her reality crumbling. Impossible. Where did my magic go? What kind of sorcery is this? Meanwhile, inside the eye of the storm, our protagonist is sound asleep, simply waiting for the afterlife to claim him. The queen descends from the heavens like a Valkyrie, deciding to crush the construct with her bare hands. You underestimated me. She flares her aura to the maximum, shouting that she is now using 100% of her power. The robotic guardian locks on, charges its payload, and a blinding explosion engulfs the world. Inside, our hero stirs from his nap. Am I dead? Not yet, huh? That's weird. He looks around the intact room. I'm still in my bed. Let me check the situation. Hesitation grips him as he reaches for the doorknob. He's terrified the queen is waiting to decapitate him, so he barely cracks the door open. And there she stands, battered but victorious, clutching the scrap metal remains of the dog. "Wang Kai," he cries out in horror. The queen, masking her exhaustion with a sneer, replies, "My apologies. I had to completely dismantle this toy you take so much pride in." Our protagonist trembles, his survival instinct screaming, Can we just talk this out, Your Highness?" The queen smirks. "Of course. Right after I end you," but internally her mind is screaming. This is insane. How did a mere tool force me to drain my entire mana core? Is this where my reign ends? Suddenly her vision goes black. She collapses face first into the dirt. Our hero panics and rushes to her side, asking if she's alive. As her consciousness fades, the magical armor sustaining her form begins to disintegrate. The barrier vanishes and her clothes dissolve, leaving very little to the imagination. Naturally, our boy suffers a massive anime-style nosebleed. Night falls. The queen awakens to the cold sensation of steel. She is handcuffed to a bed. Panic sets in. Damn it, how did I, Elizabeth the Eternal, the apex predator of 1,000 years, suffer such a humiliating defeat? But then, a darker realization hits her. He didn't kill me. He imprisoned me. This monster. He intends to keep me as a trophy to flaunt his overwhelming power. She strains against the cuffs, but her strength is gone. Curse him. Another god-tier artifact. Just how many secrets is this hero hiding? She scans the room, her eyes landing on a chess set and a deck of cards. I don't recognize these strange torture devices. This hero is far more twisted and treacherous than the legends say. I truly walked into a trap. At that precise moment, our hero walks in holding a bag of snacks. She glares daggers at him. Fine. Kill me if you wish, but do not expect the Demon Queen to beg. But inside our protagonist's head, it's pure panic. She's so intimidating. She's a monster. Diplomacy is my only hope for survival. He stammers, "Look, can't we just chat? I only put those cuffs on as a precaution. Frankly, I'm terrified of you. You're strong." The queen blinks, confused. Is he mocking me? To her ears, his words translate differently. He says, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'll take these off so we can talk like civilized people." But through her filter of fear, she hears, "My apologies if you didn't realize the gap between heaven and earth. You actually thought you could challenge me. Fine. I will release you just to prove a point. You are so beneath me that I don't even need chains to control you. You will obey me because you have no other choice." Her blood boils. This bastard. How dare he threaten me with such a smile? He unlocks the mechanism. There. You're free. See, I can't do anything to you. Let's just talk. The queen grinds her teeth. Damn it. I underestimated him completely. A wise ruler knows when to retreat. But mark my words, human. You will pay 1,000 times over for this arrogance. Our protagonist scurries out of the room shaking like a leaf and whispers, "Get some rest." Suddenly, he turns to the camera, breaking the fourth wall. You guys are probably asking, why didn't I just finish off the Demon Queen? Well, I've read the lore of this world, and there is a specific rule about her. Since she possesses the power of instant resurrection, simply killing her is a futile effort. To end this eternal war, I must shatter the cycle of hatred. As long as I pose no threat, perhaps a path to friendship exists. But as he schemes, a twisted, Joker-like grin spreads across his face. The queen trembles in horror. Is he mocking me even now? The hero grabs the broken mechanical hound. Seeing the wreckage, the queen scoffs. Is this your legendary divine artifact, oh great hero? But he waves it off. Hardly a divine tool. Just a trinket I forged to kill time in my boredom. Indeed, it was merely the final invention of his past life. The queen suppresses a sinister smirk. This is my chance. His guard is down and my mana restraints are gone. Behold, the power of the abyss. With the machine destroyed, the scales of fate tip in my favor. I have fully recovered my dark energy. Prepare to die. She apologizes mockingly for crushing his toy, but the hero simply shrugs. Relax, it is fine. The memory core remains intact. Behind him, her bloodlust spikes the perfect opening. I will strike down the legend right here, but the hero interrupts, casually mentioning his inventory. Luckily, I crafted 6 spare vessels for just such an occasion. No need to worry, Your Highness. The queen freezes her mind blank. He slots the core in, and the mechanical beast springs to life, joyous and new. He sighs, admitting they are messy pets, so he usually keeps just one active. To her, this is psychological warfare. His distorted smile mocks her very existence. Crushed by the gap in their power, she collapses onto the bed. Resistance is impossible. Suddenly, a divine aroma wafts through the air. What is that heavenly scent? Li Ping speaks gently. You looked exhausted, so I prepared a meal using ingredients from my supreme-grade farm. Having reached the pinnacle of agricultural cultivation, his crops are legendary. The queen tries to maintain her dignity. Why bother? I have transcended mortal needs. Food is for the weak. Yet her traitorous stomach growls. He insists, explaining he grew every grain himself with spiritual energy. He just wants to break bread in peace. She hesitates, wary of a trap. The protagonist worries, can his humble cooking satisfy a demon royal? After all, her palate is accustomed to the finest delicacies of the underworld. Will this be enough? She takes a bite. Then another. And another. With every chew, a symphony of flavor erupts. Meat juices explode in her mouth like celestial fireworks. The purity of the ingredients is unmatched. It is overflowing with dense magical energy. To think the human realm held such treasures. I cannot stop. I must consume every last morsel. Suddenly, a scorching heat blooms within her core. She cries out, "It burns. What treachery is this?" Li Ping panics, explaining it is just a dash of chili peppers. Does the mighty demon queen have zero tolerance for spice? She writhes in agony, convinced of his malice. I knew it. His kindness was a facade. He is fattening me up for his twisted experiments. He quickly offers a bowl of soup to soothe the heat. She glares, thinking he provides the antidote after the poison. I am dancing in the palm of his hand, the humiliation, but as the liquid touches her tongue, her soul ascends to the heavens. The meat was intensity, but this soup is pure tranquility. The ancient war, the rivalry, it all fades into nothingness. I shall forget the world and live in this flavor. The realization of her own insignificance washes over her. The spiritual energy in the food is so potent, it forces her body to evolve, increasing her cultivation base instantly. She snaps back to reality, confused. Stop this charade. What is your true objective? Li Ping, scratching his head, admits he just wants peace. I merely wanted to research if a hero and a demon could coexist. But her twisted logic hears something else. You mean, I am the only one worthy to be your test subject. You wish to raise me as a powerful slave. To see if I can one day rival you, the protagonist blinks. Sure, if that means I just keep cooking for you. The queen spirals. Death is acceptable, but this shame never. He plans to groom me into a worthy opponent. She is certain his grand scheme is to forge her into a weapon capable of challenging his boredom. Resolve hardens in her eyes. She stands tall upon the bed and declares her verdict. I accept your challenge, but hear my conditions. I do this not out of fear, but to reach the apex of power and claim the title of strongest. Li Ping is baffled. Does she not realize she is a hostage? She continues, her pride blazing like a sun. Listen well, human, do not expect me to bow my head, for I shall never submit to you. My dignity as the sovereign of darkness is absolute. If you dare cross the line, even if it costs me my very soul, I will obliterate you. However, our hero just scratches his head awkwardly. Understood. Understood. Let us just be friends. Okay, we can coexist peacefully. She pierces him with a glare before scoffing. Fine. If you wish to research my power, go ahead. Just one condition: bring me tributes of delicious food." Our hero nods, and just like that, 1 year has drifted by, and now behold our protagonist using the legendary divine prophecy blade to chop firewood. He sighs, thinking life has become rather complicated. Ever since the queen shattered the stealth array concealing his home, the barrier fell, exposing them to the entire world. Outside, high-level beasts roam freely, yet none dare approach, for when they sense the terrifying aura of the queen radiating from the house, they flee in panic. The problem is, he fears the moment Her Majesty departs, he will likely lose his sanctuary to the monster horde. Suddenly, the queen screams from inside, demanding to know why her feast is delayed. In our protagonist's mind, he calculates he cannot let her escape. He needs her apocalyptic protection. Meanwhile, in the living room, the fallen queen is binge-watching otherworldly entertainment, and after a year of gluttony, she has become quite soft. She groans, "I am weary." Of these repeated recordings, do you not have fresh content from that system? Li Ping sighs, responding, "I told you the system has been offline for ages. Now come here. Lunch is served." She considers rising, but the effort is too great, so she manifests magical wings to levitate towards the table. She eyes Li Ping suspiciously and asks, "What insidious poison have you laced these potatoes with? It seems the more I consume your cooking, the more my will to fight dissolves." She ponders, "This wretched human uses divine flavors to paralyze my spirit with a slow-acting toxin, attempting to drag me into total depravity with these extremely provocative moving images." Li Ping sweat drops, trying to explain. "It is just simple biology. Calories lead to weight gain, which leads to lethargy and laziness." At that moment, she glances down, noticing the soft curve of her belly, but then she channels her mana, transmuting the excess energy from her stomach into pure magical power, instantly transforming into a mega beauty. The protagonist is stunned. Is that even legal in the laws of magic? She smirks triumphantly. "Ha, another of your schemes has failed. Are you devastated?" Li Ping deadpans. "Yes, I am heartbroken now. Just eat already." She looks at the spread, and her eyes light up. "Wow, this tribute is flawless. I shall show no mercy," and begins to feast. Li Ping mutters, "Considering how much she consumes, I always manage to replenish the supply. Right, besides, I must adapt since we are destined to live this domestic life for a long time." However, her interpretation is wildly different. "He thinks me weak. He plans to fatten me like livestock before striking the killing blow. So he stands and says, 'I will fetch dessert.'" She, on the other hand, is reaching her breaking point, thinking, "This scoundrel treats me like a prize, pig stuffing me with these mana-enriched foods I have evolved over 10 times this year alone. It is impossible that I lack the strength to challenge him. The time for the great decisive battle is now." But just as her aura flares, our hero returns with a wobbling pudding and says, "Behold, your favorite treat." Her killing intent vanishes, her eyes sparkle, and she happily digs in. The protagonist thinks, even though she is the demon monarch, she is surprisingly simple to tame. You just need the right bait. The scene shifts abruptly to an old man fleeing desperately with a blonde girl. They are being hunted by cultists in purple robes and white masks who are unleashing dark arts in their direction until a magical cage traps them, forcing a last stand. It is a father and his daughter. He turns to her with resolve. "Run to the city. I will hold the line. Find sanctuary." The daughter cries out, "I will not abandon you here to die alone." But the father snaps, "I promised your mother I would protect you until my last breath." The cultists are already weaving a massive spell of destruction. The father roars, "It is time to unleash the ultimate technique," and sends a crescent of blinding white light, slicing the enemy, who is casting the spell right in half. But the enemy appears to be made of living slime and instantly regenerates. The daughter tries to fire an arrow, but her attack passes harmlessly through the liquid monster. The father warns physical attacks are useless against them. "Just escape to the city. Run now." The monster strikes at her, but the father intercepts the blow, defending her. But tragically, he is blasted away, slamming his spine against a boulder. Left bloody and near death, he gasps, "Do not look back. Just run, child." Then the slime creatures merge, transforming into a titanic abomination. The daughter pleads to the beast, "Please take me instead. Just let my father live." But at that moment, the shadow of death looms over her suddenly. A colossal silhouette descends. A gigantic mammoth appears, crushing the beast into oblivion. Atop the mammoth sits a house. On top of the house sits an elder ninja frog, and atop the frog's head sits a dog. House containing the protagonist's little robot. The frog turns to the dog and asks, "Big brother, what are your orders?" "These mortals mean no harm," the spirit beast communicated softly. "I shall guide them to the master's sanctuary." The scene shifts to the aftermath. The young maiden stirred from her slumber within Li Ping's residence, her mind a fog of confusion. Her eyes darted around the unfamiliar room. Where is this domain? The last memory etched in my mind. My father was at death's door. Panic seized her as she scrambled from the bed and rushed to the exit. She threw open the door only to witness a surreal sight. Her dying father stood tall, displaying a physique of iron to our protagonist. By the heavens, Li Ping marveled. How do I cultivate a form as magnificent as yours? The father beamed, flexing. A warrior's vessel is his temple, young master. One must temper the body continuously. Li Ping nodded sagely, thinking, so this is the legendary warrior class I have heard rumors of. Truly impressive. Beside them, the spirit hound wagged its tail, seeking praise, but the demon empress was having none of it. A swift kick sent him flying. Who gave you permission to drag these ants into my territory, you mongrel? Tears welled in the poor beast's eyes as he whimpered. Meanwhile, our protagonist continued, testing the man's muscles. Your resilience is unyielding. Flattered, the father declared. If the great immortal Li Ping admires it, I shall not hide it. With a roar of exertion, his garments exploded into shreds. Our hero watched in awe while the daughter stared in horror. Father, what in the world are you doing? The awkward silence was broken as the father noticed his child. Li Ping attempted to diffuse the chaos, but the demon empress cut him off, looming over the girl. Listen well. Now that you are awake, begone. I was here first, do not test me. Li Ping, ever the peacemaker, interjected. Relax, let us retreat inside. He poured a humble brew for his guests. Apologies for not having a grand feast to offer. Living in these remote mountains, I must do everything by hand, so it is all rather simple. The boy looked at the cup and asked, Father, is this the divine elixir you spoke of? The one that snatched you from the jaws of death? Our protagonist scratched his cheek, embarrassed. Calling this a divine elixir is a bit much, surely. It is merely boiled water with some backyard herbs. The empress seethed with jealousy in the corner. Damn it! Why did that flea bag bring these weak humans? Is my presence not enough to satisfy the master? The father began to recount the miracle, his voice trembling. I was drifting in the void, my consciousness fading. I vaguely recall the spirit dog guiding me. But the moment that liquid touched my lips, I experienced a breakthrough. My soul transcended and my body was forged anew, stronger than ever. He turned to the girl. Daughter, without the grace of the great Li Ping, I would never have beheld your face again. She stared at the tea with trembling reverence. Such a priceless treasure. Can we truly consume this? Our hero laughed softly. You adventurers are far too humble. Drink up, there is plenty. Grateful, they lifted the cups and took a sip. Instantly, reality shattered. Their souls traversed the cosmos, witnessing aliens and cornfields in a symphony of chaos. Birds circled their minds as they lay overwhelmed on the floor. In a split second, the father's cultivation skyrocketed from a 3-star archmage to the 4-star realm. The girl's mana surged, propelling her from a novice to a 1-star archmage. The father turned to his child, eyes wide. My girl, our cultivation base has advanced instantly. She nodded, touching her head. Indeed, I can feel the ancient elven blood of my mother's lineage awakening. Pointed ears had sprouted from her silhouette. I checked before, and these were definitely not here. The two were struck with dismay as they realized the gap between them and their host. Li Ping's power was an unattainable mountain summit. The sheer pressure was demotivating. Seeing their shock, the protagonist offered, Relax, I will pour another glass. The father, weeping, waved his hands. No, Mr. Li Ping. It is enough. He thought, this man is a heaven-sent deity. I cannot greedily demand more of his favor. Our hero shrugged. All right then. He thought, I wanted to serve the good wine, but unfortunately, Elizabeth hoarded everything. If I try to take it, she might actually murder everyone. The queen glared from the corner, telepathically warning, everything here is mine. Do not even think about touching my stash. Our hero let out a defeated sigh. Yeah, truly we have. Nothing else to serve. I apologize. But tell me, you were ambushed, correct? What transpired? The father explained that they were targeted because of the cursed bloodline within his daughter. Her mother was a saintess of the elves, yet I am of the human race. For the elves, mixing with other species is a forbidden taboo. The protagonist nodded. I see. So his own kin are hunting you. Down. The empress interrupted, snapping, Stop spouting lies. The demon sovereign banned such discrimination ages ago during the world conquest. The father bowed his head. It is a complex history. Her mother returned to the elven lands as a sacrifice to ensure our safety. Li Ping raised an eyebrow. But even after that sacrifice, they still track your location. How do they find you? The father clarified that the elven tribe was no longer the threat. Since the mother surrendered, the hunt from her people had ceased. Now he whispered darkly, it is the Black Guild of the Demon Kingdom seeking our lives. Li Ping glanced sideways. Demons. The Black Guild. Could it be your doing? Elizabeth flared with rage, pointing a finger at him before apologizing. She sat properly and demanded to know why a guild from her domain was hunting elves. The father revealed the grim truth. Apparently this Black Guild is conducting forbidden experiments on living vessels to resurrect the Demon Queen from the dead. Elven essence is a necessary catalyst. They were so desperate that even a mixed blood like his daughter was a target. Li Ping listened intently. The protagonist narrowed his eyes, sensing the truth. But before he could speak, the queen seized him in a panic. She desperately shook him, warning him to silence his thoughts. She insisted that only a single year had passed within this domain. Since he had been by her side every day, surely she hadn't abandoned the world. The elf and her father stood frozen in utter confusion. The queen scoffed, asking how the world could crumble after just 1 year of her absence, and who dared spread the lies of her death. The guests hesitated before revealing the terrifying truth. Queen Elizabeth had vanished for over 500 years. If she were alive, chaos would reign, so the world assumed she had perished. Li Ping bit his thumb, the math crashing down on him. 500 years. She had lived here with him for a mere year, yet centuries had passed outside. The queen sank onto the couch, demanding the story of her demise. The elf trembled as she recited the ancient texts. History claimed the Demon Queen was obliterated by the great legendary hero. Their duel reportedly raged for a month, shaking the heavens until the hero made the ultimate sacrifice to save the continent. History said they perished together. Hearing this, the queen's eyes glowed with malice, and her aura plunged them into a vision of hell. The daughter gasped, choking on the pressure. Her father realized this wasn't a place, but the physical weight of her killing intent. The queen snapped out of it, declaring the legends to be trash. Li Ping agreed, noting the rumors were false for one simple reason. He was the legendary hero himself, authenticated by the system. The father and daughter stood there, their minds completely blank. Li Ping casually gestured to the woman. This person they were gossiping about was none other than the Demon Queen Elizabeth. The revelation hit the guests like a lightning bolt, frying their logic circuits. But in the queen's eyes, their reaction meant something else. She felt exposed, convinced Li Ping was mocking her authority. To be thought of as dead for so long was a humiliation she couldn't bear. She slammed her fist on the table, refusing to stay and be a spectacle. Internally, she cursed Li Ping for putting her in this spot. She assumed he only saved these mortals to shame her. With a final glare, she stormed off, slamming the door behind her. Silence filled the room. The father turned to Li Ping, voice trembling, asking what fate awaited them now that they knew the truth. Our hero sighed, telling them to relax. Even he was unsure now that Elizabeth had shattered the barrier protecting their seclusion. The temporal flow between dimensions was chaos. Later that night, the elf daughter whispered frantically to her father. She couldn't believe the twist. The Demon Queen had abandoned her conquest for love, hiding away with the hero like a romance novel. It mirrored her parents' own forbidden love. But her father cut her off, face pale with dread. They were nothing compared to those monsters. He warned her that right now, Li Ping was likely weighing whether to execute them. The daughter argued back. If death was the goal, why save them from the forest earlier? It made no sense to rescue them, only to murder them. The father shook his head. Had she not tasted the divine power in the tea, they were beings of a higher dimension. To the hero and queen, they were mere ants. Their survival depended entirely on the momentary whims of these godlike entities. Suddenly, the door creaked open. The protagonist stepped in, noting their wakefulness with a casual demeanor that terrified them. Since sleep eluded them, he suggested a way to pass the time. The elf flinched as he proposed a game. A game of cards. Soon the three sat around a flickering candle, the shadows dancing ominously on the walls. Li Ping asked if they understood the rules. But the elf girl's mind raced, recalling her father's dire warning. This wasn't a game, it was a trial. A test to decide if they would live or die. Li Ping began to shuffle. The father gulped, sweat beading on his forehead, and timidly asked for the name of this challenge. A terrifying aura seemed to pulse from the deck. Li Ping realized, fight the landlord would make no sense in this fantasy world. He needed a localized title. His eyes gleamed as he announced the new name with dramatic flair. This is the Battle of the Dragon. The guests gasped. Even Elizabeth, lurking in the shadows, tilted her head in confusion. Li Ping explained the stakes. The two of them would act as brave heroes joining forces to slay the mighty dragon. The roles would be determined by the hand of fate, or rather the cards they drew. Father and daughter locked eyes. It was confirmed. This was a battle for survival. Li Ping warned them to choose their destiny carefully. Li Ping inspected his hand with a poker face. The father gripped his daughter's shoulder, whispering a final encouragement. They could not hesitate. As she reached for the deck, a surge of alien mana erupted from the cards. Upon touching the card, their minds were blasted into a spiritual dimension. The girl fell to her knees, gasping for air. It was too much. Merely drawing one card had drained her entire mana reserve. She looked up at her father with tear-filled eyes. She apologized for her weakness, but her father stepped forward to shield her. Li Ping then asked the ultimate question. Who will be the dragon? Li Ping smirked at his hand. No high-ranking cards, yet the potential for a combo was massive. Victory was within reach. With a king in hand, victory was all but assured. Yet, the father and daughter dared to refuse the dragon's offer. Li Ping, however, was just enjoying the thrill of the game. If I draw an ace, the royal flush will be mine. Are you certain you wish to decline? He asked, his voice calm yet heavy. When they refused again, his eyes narrowed. Then I shall show no mercy. He placed his hand on the deck, the atmosphere trembling. But the cards he drew, an 8, a 10, a queen, were trash. Disappointment flashed across his face. To the father, this look was terrified. Did we fail to entertain the supreme one? Nosa trembled as he played his card. I summon. The 8. Uncle Beerus was already drenched in a cold sweat. If we survive this trial, perhaps he will spare our souls. But every card I play burns away years of my lifespan. My very life essence is fading. Shaking violently, he placed a card. I play. The Jack. Father, stop, the daughter cried, but he shielded her. Stay back, I will bear this burden alone. Li Ping calculated his next move with cold logic. Aside from the royal flush, a straight sequence is their only threat. Should I break their formation? He pondered. No, if I hesitate, they will counter. Unable to decide, he simply said pass. The father's eyes widened in horror. You refuse to play. Confusion turned to dread. He is forcing me to exhaust my remaining vitality. I must end this duel before my soul is extinguished. With a roar, he unleashed his ultimate technique. 2 queens, 3 sixes, 3 sevens. Behold, the flying dragon formation. The cost was instant. The life energy in his leg vanished completely. A leg for a move. The greater the power, the heavier the blood price. A spectral dragon materialized between them. What is this pressure? The beast lunged, striking Li Ping directly on the head. Elizabeth watched in stunned silence. Terror gripped the father. I struck the legendary hero. I have courted death. But the hero remained unfazed, smiling calmly. Well played, he said, dusting himself off. Your turn, Mr. Li Ping, the father gasped. I pass. Go again, the hero replied casually. The father played a 3, his body turning numb. The elf daughter whispered, I pass. Li Ping's eyes flashed. Then it is my turn. He slammed down a 10. The father and daughter froze. They knew what was coming. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen. The invincible sequence. Reality seemed to warp around them. Destructive waves of mana crashed down, drowning them in despair. The father tried to shield his daughter, but the pressure was absolute ass. They gasped for air, surfacing from the illusionary ocean. I cannot go on, the father wheezed. But Li Ping was relentless. Full house. I summon the knights. Father, no, the elf girl cried, her eyes burning with resolve. I will take over. Stop, the cost is too high. I cannot hide behind you forever, she shouted. I will protect you with my own life. She countered with her own full house. The spectral knights clashed in a symphony of steel and magic. A fierce battle ensued until only her champion remained standing. Are you unharmed? The father asked, voice trembling. Li Ping nodded in approval. To sacrifice your pawns to save the king. Well done. Determination is the true weapon here. Li Ping mused to himself. I didn't expect them to master the rules so fast. The father looked at his withered hand, hope fading. But the game was far from over. It is too late, Li Ping declared, his voice dropping an octave. Fear paralyzed the duo. Elizabeth felt a chill run down her spine. This aura. It's suffocating. The hero revealed his trump card. 2 jokers. The dimension itself began to fracture. From the void, a nightmare emerged. The Clown King. A 3-star demon of pure chaos. The demon prepared to slaughter the father and daughter. He formed a heart with his hands. But then his gaze locked onto Elizabeth. What are you looking at? The demon sneered. The heart twisted into a jagged knife. Keep staring and I'll gut you. Do not underestimate me, Elizabeth hissed, summoning her aura. But inwardly she was seething with jealousy. She had absorbed his energy for so long just to reach this level. Yet he summoned a creature of equal power with a mere card toss. A 3-star demon. Summoned as easily as breathing. Who is this monster I serve? The father looked at his daughter, tears in his eyes. Elif, forgive my weakness. No, father. It was my foolishness that angered him. The old man coughed violently, spitting blood onto the table. My life force. It is nearly gone. Li Ping saw the blood and frowned. Uncle, are you all right? His old injuries must be flaring up again. Then, he glanced at the old man's remaining cards. 3 threes. And 4 kings. Wait. He holds the 4 heavenly kings. He could have crushed me turns ago. He was letting me win out of kindness. I thought I was the master, but I was the student. I am sorry for disrupting your rest, Li Ping said, gathering the cards. The demonic illusion dissolved instantly. The game was over. Having barely survived the presence of a transcendent being, the father and daughter duo tremble with relief to find they are still breathing. However, Elizabeth seethes with humiliation, thinking that ridiculous Li Ping dared to mock me. He feigned a casual card game just to lower my guard and strike me with that clown absolute disgrace the next morning. The guests prepare to depart, and Li Ping asks with genuine warmth, Uncle Boss, are you sure you cannot stay the spirit fruits? They are nearly ready for harvest. The father bows deeply, terror evident in his eyes. We dare not disturb your peace any longer. Lord Li Ping has shown us too much mercy already. We shall engrave this kindness into our souls. Our hero rubs his neck, confused by their intensity. While the father vows to seal his lips regarding the hidden master, the elf girl clutching a float. Present asks Lord Li Ping, do you really intend to gift us such a supreme treasure? He laughs. It is just some tea. Harmless, really. He then approaches the old man and presses an item into his palm. Oh, and take this memento as well, uncle. The father glances down and his blood runs cold. It is the deck of cards. Li Ping smiles. Keep it. My skills are trash anyway. I have no talent for games. Suddenly Elizabeth materializes with killing intent looming. Hey, she glares at them and mouths. A single command be gone. Run for your lives. They scramble away in a panic, leaving Li Ping scratching his head. Well, now that peace has returned, it is time to cook for this demanding queen. Our protagonist simply accepts his fate. Meanwhile, the father and daughter sprint as if the devil himself is chasing them. The daughter gasps, Father, please. My legs are giving out, but he screams, We cannot stop. Do you not remember the test of fate, the threat of the demon queen? His mind flashes back to the previous night, terror gripping his heart. Elizabeth had appeared like a phantom and severed, their heads in a vision saying, I, Elizabeth, command you. Leave this domain at sunrise. Speak not a word of this queen or the legendary hero to the outside world. The two had prostrated, crying, Yes, your majesty, she continued with a cold smile. Should you harbor thoughts of betrayal, the curse upon your necks will detonate your souls instantly back in reality. The father pants who would believe the truth anyway, that the invincible hero Li Ping retired because he was bored of war and conflict. Suddenly the daughter pauses. Wait, this landscape feels wrong. He looks around. How did we travel? Hundreds of miles so quickly. The family dog watching from the bushes thinks bringing them here should stop them from annoying master, and that which truth is, the dog is a divine beast who warped space to throw them across the continent. The daughter whispers, aren't these the corpses of the Black Guild? Apostles, the father scans the area, sensing a deadly aura. High-ranking demons are swarming this area. We must escape immediately. The dog notices a shadow looming and thinks, what is that abomination? Whatever. I am going home to get beaten by that wicked woman again. Indeed. The dog has developed quite the masochistic taste for the queen's abuse. Suddenly, a legion of shadows rises from the ground, blocking their path. A demonic screech pierces the air, followed by the roar of the horde. The father turns pale. I recognize that aura. That is a grand apostle, a 2-star spiritual demon surrounded by an army of 3- and 4-star monsters. Doom hangs heavy in the air. For the father and daughter are merely 1-star mages. She clutches his arm, tears falling. Father, the power gap is insurmountable. Leave me behind, you might still escape, but a fire ignites in the father's eyes. No, I know we are weak, but after witnessing the godlike power of Li Ping and the queen, these demons look like nothing. Your father was once known as the Iron Heart of the Herd. He raises the deck of cards, facing the abyss. Daughter, behold. The demon flinches instinctively. The father shouts, Since your mother returned to the elven tribe, I lived in fear, hiding my true self to protect you. But cowardice ends today. If we survive this, I will reclaim you and find your mother. He activates the artifact, invoking the descendant of the god of the 4-card arrow. A majestic elf avatar manifests. It bears the likeness of her mother. The avatar draws a colossal bow of light, aiming at the horde. Energy crackles violently, and the arrow is loosed upon impact. The demons are not just killed, they are erased from existence, evaporated into nothingness. The Grand Apostle tries to catch the arrow with his bare hands, mocking the attack, but the energy surges, overwhelming his defense in a spray of gore. His head explodes. The father sheathes the deck as the elf fades and he collapses from exhaustion. The daughter rushes to his side, screaming, Dad, Dad. He smiles weakly through the pain. It seems your old man has found a new calling. A new class is born on the continent, the Card Master. Meanwhile, the elf avatar leaves a massive crater in its wake. 1 week later, tranquility reigns at the protagonist's farm. He sighs. This magical world is magnificent. My hybrid fruits are a success. Yet without someone to share the harvest, a hollowness remains within me. Knights, demon, queens, elves. Originally, I thought a simple life was enough. I lived a peaceful, quiet life as a simple farmer, yet my heart remains restless. The chaos of the outside world calls to me. Humans are greedy creatures. We always crave what we cannot have. But alas, I am far too weak for such perils. Forget it. Suddenly, the demon queen manifests before him. You seem troubled, she observes. He sighs. I long to witness the realms beyond, but my lack of strength holds me back. Her eyes light up with a chaotic spark. Finally, you wish to leave. Then come join me on a journey. But internally she scoffs. I see. You think the outside world is beneath a being of your magnitude. Such arrogance. The protagonist is stunned by the invitation. But inside his head, his reasoning is purely survival-based. If I travel under the protection of the demon queen, I shall be invincible. She cuts him off. Silence. Go, change your attire. They quickly don their adventurer gear. The queen nods in approval. I must admit, your mastery of sewing rivals even your divine cooking skills. He beams with pride. Naturally, these are the domestic arts I have perfected. Meanwhile, the faithful hound wags its tail, sensing the shift in destiny. With a snap of her fingers, she weaves a teleportation spell. Let us depart. We shall target the nearest metropolis. Lang gazes in awe. What incredible convenience. They approach the swirling portal, but Lang hesitates. Wait, Elizabeth, I have 3 conditions before we proceed. First, do not abandon me. Second, suppress your temper. And third, keep a low profile. Yet her interpretation is vastly different. First, do not wander off. Second, restrain your overwhelming power. Third, use no magic lest you ruin the thrill of my adventure. She smirks. Understood. Lang pauses. One final question. After we witness the world, will we return here? He fears dying without his farm's barrier. She agrees, thinking, before I crushed the hero, the world held no interest for me anyway. Liang asks again, really, you promise? She nods. I shall return, but you must pay a price. Liang gulps. What price? The queen demands. Upon our return, you will craft me a legendary ultra-luxurious fruit pudding. Lang blinks in confusion. Just a pudding. Precisely. He sighs in relief. Deal. Leaving the loyal hound behind, they step into the vortex. Instantly, the city of Bolster materializes under the night sky. The protagonist's eyes widen. By the gods, it is truly like stepping into another dimension. Look, Elizabeth. An armory, and behold, exotic ingredients beyond just simple pork. He rushes between stalls like a child. Elizabeth, however, observes with a critical eye. 500 years have passed, yet civilization has barely advanced. Lang notes, it is surprisingly peaceful. The old man described a chaotic wasteland. Elizabeth puffs out her chest. This is the legacy of my reign. I built an unshakable foundation of order. When factions warred, I used absolute power to crush them into submission, establishing true equality. It was I, the demon queen, who saved this world, not that fraud of a so-called legendary hero. She turns to lecture him, but where is he? The legendary hero is distracted by a plush toy stall. The craftsmanship is divine, he marvels. The stitching is flawless. Little sister, did you weave these yourself? I did, the girl smiles. If you like them, I can offer a discount. Crash. A boar-headed thug kicks the stall apart. Who gave you permission to trade here? Your church owes us protection. Money, you brat. Yet you dare open a shop on my turf. The orphans tremble in fear as he hoists the girl by her collar. She struggles. You never protected us. Why should we pay tribute to thieves? The crowd watches in terrified silence. The pig sneers. This is Beast Gang territory now. Pay the monthly tax or face the consequences. The girl cries out. This church belongs to the High Nun. When she returns, you will face divine punishment. Still clinging to false hope, his grip tightens. Or perhaps you are just playing the fool. Today, I cast every orphan into the streets and reduce this sanctuary to rubble. Halt, Lang commands. The thug glares. Or what? What will a twig like you do? Watching from the shadows, Elizabeth sighs. Why bother with ants? Let fate take its course. Liang frantically signals for her help, but she turns away. I shall not stoop to such lows. The furious boar advances. While I'm waiting, panic sets in for Lang until a light bulb moment. He turns to the crowd and roars, Citizens, this beast bullies a child. Let us condemn him together. The crowd turned a blind eye, feigning deafness to the pigman's cruelty. The beast laughed. Did you truly believe a single soul here would automents? Dare to defy me, wake up, buddy. This is Beast Street. Judging by those rags, you're fresh meat from the southern lands. However, that woman, standing beside you, she is a rare beauty. Our protagonist tried to de-escalate the situation. Let's lower our voices. I have some exotic spices in my pack. Perhaps we can share them and call it even, but the beast sneered. Cut the stalling, he signaled his thugs. Beat this, trash to a pulp, and drag the woman to my quarters. That command was the single greatest mistake of his life. Elizabeth's eyes turned cold. Do you actually believe a insect like you is qualified to capture me? You have just stepped on the tail of a sleeping tiger. Instantly, the heavens began to turn pitch black. The pig was bewildered. Huh. Why did the sky vanish? What is this pressure? Li Ping realized the danger immediately. Stop, don't unleash your power, you'll wipe out the entire city. He waved his hands frantically. Please calm down. If you must just intimidate them, there is no need to. Slaughter ordinary civilians, Elizabeth huffed. Fine. I will spare this trash only for your sake. To anyone with spiritual sensitivity, the difference in magical power was like comparing a candle to the sun. Even the little girl with glasses trembled at the overwhelming aura. Suddenly, rain began to pour as the pigman shook with primal fear. He stared at the duo, stuttering. Who are you two guardians of the church, and these orphans? Our protagonist just wanted to resolve the debt. Let's talk business. How much is the protection fee? The pig stammered. It is 10 gold coins for 2 months total. Elizabeth's fury ignited instantly. 10 gold coins, you are causing this level of chaos for mere pocket change. You are an absolute moron, Li Ping whispered to her frantically. You have plenty of gold. Right, she shot back. Stop speaking nonsense. My treasures are beyond value, but I do not carry common currency, Li Ping sighed. How about you lend me some? I will sell vegetables later and repay you with interest. Elizabeth was insulted. You want to trade my divine rations for useless currency? I refuse. Besides, I was penniless when you found me. The pig regained his courage, sneering. So, you two are broke? Li Ping laughed nervously. We really don't have gold coins. Can I interest you in some local specialties from my backpack? As payment, the pig roared in anger. Are you mocking me? Kill them all. But suddenly, a heavy sack slammed into his face with a bone-crushing thud. Who did this crap? He screamed. The bag burst open, revealing a pile of gold. A majestic centaur knight appeared. This man truly lived up to the title of a knight. He glared at the thug. Cease bothering my friends and get out of my sight. You have received your payment. The pig gritted his teeth. So a knight in shining armor intervenes. Fine. I will let this slide today. But do not expect such luck next month. As the thugs retreated, the little girl thanked the group profusely. Our protagonist turned to the savior. I have some fruits as a token of gratitude if you don't mind. The knight ignored the gift. I did not save you for fruit. I want you to be my partner. His intense gaze was fixed solely on Elizabeth. The little girl blinked in confusion. Partner, what sort of help do you need? Elizabeth crossed her arms, unimpressed. Not interested. Li Ping, let's leave. But our hero stopped her. We can't just walk away. He helped us. Let's at least hear his proposal. The girl waved goodbye to the other orphans, promising to return soon. The trio headed toward a tavern, though Li Ping wondered how a man with a horse's body intended to sit on a bar stool. The knight marched forward, ignoring the stares. Elizabeth fumed. This is entirely your fault, Li Ping. You insisted on dragging me to this filthy place. I am wasting my precious time. Our hero practiced the art of selective hearing. The knight announced, we have arrived. The moment he opened the door, a bevy of beautiful women swarmed him. Our hero froze as the knight revealed they were all his wives. He began pouring tea with practiced elegance. Allow me to introduce my party. First, this is Gotcha. Her profession is shield warrior. This beauty is the assassin Lua and the mage Glee. This man had literally assembled a harem to create the perfect dungeon-clearing team. He was the Elon Musk of productivity in this fantasy world. Lastly, there is Galia. She is a peerless elven archer. Li Ping noted, so she is of the elven race. I also met a girl who carried elven blood. Elizabeth slammed the table. Enough of this chatter. This is a waste of time. What is the deal you wanted to discuss? We need to leave. One of the centaur's wives took offense, glaring daggers. Master, what is with this woman? Her attitude is repulsive. Elizabeth met her gaze with cold superiority. That is, how a queen conducts herself. Do you have a problem with that peasant? The assassin laughed cruelly. A queen, she is quite funny calling herself royalty. Master, is her brain functioning? Look at the shape of her ears. She likely has a mediocre lineage with diluted elven blood. What is a mongrel doing in front of me? I advise this woman to learn her place. Elizabeth's mana flared dangerously. If you truly wish to bring destruction upon this place, do not blame me. Li Ping rushed between them, sweating bullets. Calm down, look pudding, I made pudding, let's just eat. He quickly spun a lie. We came from a distant place, from a nameless tribe just to travel here. She is the princess of our people, Elizabeth, and I am merely her humble servant Li Ping. The wives continued to criticize her. No wonder you act so strangely. Apparently, you are the princess of a nowhere tribe, place that has never known civilization. Elizabeth, you must hail from a wretched wasteland that worships the demon queen. Our hero immediately steps in to de-escalate. Easy now, she is still acclimating to cultural nuances. The knight shifts gears, his eyes gleaming with greed. Fine, let us talk business. I invite you three to a dungeon raid. But internally, his suspicion festers. That demonic aura she leaked earlier. No mere tribal queen should possess such killing intent. Could it be Li Ping's curiosity peaks? A dungeon with treasure. He turns to the young girl beside him. Do you know what that implies? She nods gravely. Treasure dungeons are dimensional rifts, forged by ancient magical entities. They usually contain immense wealth, but the prizes are veiled in shadow and heavily guarded. Li Ping nods. I see. The knight cuts in. Precisely. I sacrificed a fortune in gold in effort to secure these coordinates. However, there is a seal. To shatter the barrier, we require a minimum of 8 souls. Our hero shrugs. I understand. You simply need warm bodies to fill the quota. The orphan girl begins a frantic head count. 1, 2, 6, 8. Wait, is there a loophole? Must I go, Li? Ping tilts, his head confused. Why hesitate? Is this not a realm of riches? You should be thrilled to join. You do not understand, the girl cries out. These rifts are death traps. I am a mere level 4 mage. I will be slaughtered instantly. Our hero muses. Ah, so that is the reality. I was oblivious to the mortal peril. The knight smooths over the fear. Relax. You are merely keys to the lock. And your share? In the end, it won't be less than ours. I guarantee at least a few thousand gold coins. One of his consorts sneers. My master has slain dark apostles. Your safety is guaranteed. The orphan freezes. A few thousand coins, at least. Her eyes sparkle. That would wipe out the church's entire debt. Our hero turns to Elizabeth and whispers, shall we assist them? It is only a numbers game. Elizabeth sighs, an aura of regal impatience around her. Fine. You decide. Just do not disturb me while I savor my pudding. The knight signals a wife who holds a shimmering orb. What is that crystal ball? The hero asks. The knight explains, a measurement tool. Touch it, and it shall reveal the depths of your mana. The orphan girl gasps, recognizing the artifact. Incredible, the readout is 8,769. That is demonic spirit rank. The knight smirks. Indeed, I have reached the 4-star threshold. My wives are similarly gifted, boasting 4 or 5 stars. Since we form a party, we must understand our assets and sync our abilities. The orphan nervously places her hand on the orb. A pathetic 300 flickers. One of the wives laughs. 300, I was stronger at my first awakening. The girl shrinks back. I apologize. My level is stagnant. Our hero steps forward. My turn. Internally, he calculates. I have never studied the arcane arts, yet I am the prophesied legendary hero. My latent potential must be vast. He touches the crystal, focusing his will. The number displays 0. The knight blinks, baffled. 0. Even a pure martial artist has some flow. The protagonist facepalms. Of course. What was I expecting? I have spent years farming cabbages. Obviously, I possess no mana. He slumps down. I am finished. No magic in this lifetime. The assassin woman sneers. Then what use? Are you dead weight? Li Ping shrugs. I excel at agriculture. Speaking of which, try. These fruits I harvested. The wife recoils. Heavens, look at this bumpkin. Keep your trash for yourself, servant. The knight presses on. Princess Elizabeth, it would be wise if you tested. Li Ping whispers. Elizabeth, just play along for now. She grinds her teeth. How tedious. This queen must entertain this charade with these ignorant insects. She taps the orb. Boom. A blinding light erupts, searing the eyes of everyone present. Li Ping panics. If her identity as the demon queen leaks, here we are doomed. I am aware, Elizabeth projects. I shall indulge this game. She suppresses her catastrophic power, dialing it down to exactly 8,768. Wow, the orphan cries. It mirrors the knight's power. She is also at demonic spirit rank. The wives are stunned. Impossible. How can she possess such might? Li Ping exhales. Safe. The knight bows slightly. Magnificent. You truly are royalty. With you, our victory is all but assured. The orphan asks, how do we reach the target? The knight nods to a consort who activates a high-tier artifact. Teleportation, scroll, engage. A dimensional rift tears open. Above them, space warps and they materialize within the dungeon. Li Ping beams despite the nausea. Whoa. A bit dizzy but exciting. The orphan shivers at the ominous aura, saturating the air. Elizabeth merely yawns, seemingly bored. Let us not waste time, the knight commands. To the treasure room. But suddenly, Elizabeth speaks. I've lost interest. Let's return. One of the concubines flared up with irritation, snapping at her. You fickle woman. You traveled all this way only to change your mind now. Do you have any idea how much a high-tier teleportation scroll costs? If you refuse to enter the dungeon, don't even dream of leaving alive. Elizabeth turned her cold, terrifying gaze upon the woman. Are you challenging me? Before blood could spill, our hero stepped in. Everyone calm your killing intent. Listen, since we've crossed the threshold, Elizabeth, please let us observe. Suddenly, the bespectacled orphan girl spoke up. Did you sense it, the mana density inside this cavern? It resonates with a power identical to Elizabeth's aura. The hero paused, confused. Her aura, what are you implying? Meanwhile, the knight attempted to use his charisma on the Ice Queen. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Excuse me. Trust in my blade. No matter what nightmare awaits, I shall be your shield. Come with me, Princess Elizabeth. He reached for her hand, but she walked past him as if he were air. They stepped into gate 788. The spatial gate slammed shut behind them. Li Ping panicked. Can't we retreat to the extraction point? Elizabeth scoffed. Silence, fool. This is a closed dimensional domain. Unless your power transcends the barrier's creator, escape is nothing but a fantasy. You must hunt the boss of this dungeon and fulfill the hidden conditions. Until then, no soul leaves this cage. The harem members declared, with Master by our side, nothing is impossible. Yet their eyes burned with jealousy toward Elizabeth. The meek girl asked, what loot awaits us here? She was told to relax. Ancient artifacts and gold coins, obviously. You will receive your share. Facing the branching paths, the young boy hesitated, overwhelmed by the labyrinth's complexity. But he reasoned, Elizabeth is our powerhouse. As long as she walks this path, safety is guaranteed. Let's march forward. The assassin wife suggested, Master, shall we deploy a spread formation? He shook his head. Not yet. Stay in proximity. He commanded Li to activate her sensory skill. She nodded, raising a hand to unleash a wave of illuminating mana. The light flooded the dungeon, mapping the terrain. She smirked, I'll find the optimal route. But Elizabeth viewed it as arrogant child's play. Elizabeth deemed it ignorant. Li pushed her mana until she collapsed, drained of spiritual energy. The knight pressed. The layout. Panting, she replied, Master. This labyrinth is endless. I projected my mana to the absolute limit, yet found no boundaries. It loops infinitely. I can't find the exit. Despair set in. Her detection range covered 3 kilometers, yet it wasn't enough. The elf offered, shall I use spirit divination? But with a 34% success rate, it was a dangerous gamble. The assassin cut in split formation is best. My shadow clones can scout ahead. Li Ping turned to the powerhouse. Elizabeth, do you see the path? She sneered naturally. It's a simple illusion array, but you insects will never escape. Li Ping snapped, then assist us. We must repay our debt to that man immediately. Elizabeth mocked them. I've changed my mind. Helping is tedious. I'd much rather watch you all perish in despair. Suddenly, the bespectacled girl pointed a trembling finger. The third cavern. That is the path to the core. Elizabeth's eyes narrowed in intrigue. The hero asked. On what grounds? The girl stammered. It was intuition. I sensed a unique mana frequency from that void. The mage wife exploded in anger. Shut your mouth. I sensed zero magical fluctuation there. A low-level weakling like you dares to spout random theories. The girl bowed her head in apology. The mage continued, I haven't mapped it all, but the last passage has the lowest monster density. That is the safest route. The knight turned to his party. What is the consensus? The assassin still favored splitting up. Another argued, we must follow Li's guidance. Unity is our only strength. The android pleaded, Master, please trust in her logic. The knight nodded solemnly. We move as one to the final cave. But the orphan girl shouted, no, any path but that one. Please. She summoned her marionette rabbit, sending it dashing toward the tunnel. The moment it crossed the threshold, snap. The cave entrance morphed into massive jaws, crushing the puppet instantly. Our hero gasped. What in the heavens? Elizabeth yawned. A parasitic mimic. Common pests inside high-ranking beasts. The assassin glared at the mage. I thought you said fewer monsters resided there. The knight's party stood frozen, cold sweat dripping down their backs. Elizabeth scoffed. Let the fools suffer. We move. Li Ping sighed. If only you would lead the vanguard. She simply began to walk. The glasses girl whispered, Is she truly heading the right way? Doubt lingered in the air. The assassin looked to the knight. Master, shall I send a clone to trail them? The knight shook his head. She spotted that mimic instantly. Only a being of supreme confidence walks with such a gait. Elizabeth's origin is unfathomable. We follow her. Uniting their fate, everyone stepped into the darkness of the same cave. Lurking within the abyss, a golden iris pierced the darkness, the gaze of an apex predator. You might recall how our previous episode concluded with Li Ping and his imperious demon queen stepping into the dungeon depths. However, they were unknowingly being tracked by a colossal lizard-like eye, giving the party a terrifying stare. The scene shifts to the knight leader, his blade dancing through a horde of monsters. He calls out to his squad to check their status, but the pressure is mounting. The girls are struggling to keep up. Meanwhile, our protagonist plays the role of the helpless burden, perfectly cowering behind the tank. He whispers, Is Elizabeth safe? Prompting a sharp retort about his terrible acting skills. The fairy guide explodes with rage, shouting, This is all your fault. Look at this treacherous path you forced us to take. It is crawling with high-tier beasts. Elizabeth, looking more regal and curvaceous with every passing chapter, calmly explains the mechanics. High mana density naturally attracts powerful creatures. That is basic dungeon knowledge. Did you not know? The fairy pouts, admitting she knew, but her fury stems from the fact that Elizabeth is simply standing there, observing like a statue. Elizabeth narrows her eyes. I am standing here because you, little spirit, claimed you would handle everything. So handle it. The knight intervenes, bowing to her beauty. Glee, calm down. It is an honor to escort her. This only fuels the mage's jealousy. This cursed demoness is humiliating me. She has even bewitched my master. The archer then begs, Master, can we not rest? The battle has been relentless. However, Elizabeth is merciless. No one here will rest. This queen has no time to waste on weaklings. The assassin finally snaps. If you are so mighty, why not continue alone? Naturally, the exhausted party murmurs in agreement. The knight quickly mediates Miss Elizabeth. Please listen to reason. Strategy dictates we rest and regroup. At the very least, we must replenish our stamina with these high-grade elven potions. Li Ping's ears perk up. Elven potion. Elizabeth glares at him with disdain. Why would you want to drink that swill? He shrugs, feigning innocence. I have never tasted one. I wanted to try it. Who knows, perhaps the flavor will inspire my crafting skills. Elizabeth sighs internally. This man feasts on divine delicacies, yet he begs for garbage. But she relents. Around the campfire, the fairy guide slurps the potion, crying out, Wow, this elven brew is delicious. The tank warrior agrees it is tasty, but she is more anxious about the timeline for finding the dungeon's treasure. Julia, the elven archer, approaches Elizabeth with a vial, her aura radiating arrogance. This is my special blend. You can boost all attributes instantly, just by drinking it. But surely a being as powerful as you does not need charity. The knight scolds her immediately. Julia, do not be so rude. She apologizes half-heartedly and tosses the vial. The queen catches it without caring and flicks it toward our protagonist. Elizabeth, you do not want it. I will drink it then. Li Ping downs it in one gulp, but immediately retches. The taste of raw grass is overwhelming. You cannot drink this filth. Do you want it, Annie? He offers the leftovers. Sorry, Li Ping. I have not spent much mana, so I do not need it. Obviously, Julia is incensed. You dare say that? It was a waste to give a noble elixir to an idiot like you. Elizabeth pours the rest on the ground, her eyes cold. Very well. I will waste it on the dirt then. The elf screams, Wait, what did you do with my potion? Elizabeth stares back unbothered. What do you think I did? Li Ping jumps in to prevent a murder. Calm down. No. Fighting guys, I have something better for everyone. Hold on. He rummages through his inventory and pulls out a bunch of bananas. I have been waiting to share these high-tier snacks with you for a while. Finally, a chance. He hands one to the knight. Everyone accepts the fruit skeptically. He hands an apple to Annie, the healer. Tears suddenly well up in her eyes. Li Ping panics. Why are you crying, Annie? It is just an apple. Annie clutches the fruit. Can I take it home? The children at the orphanage have not had fresh fruit in years. Li Ping is moved by her purity. I understand completely. He immediately unloads more stock so she can take it back, for the kids. However, the knight and the elf scoff, crushing the bananas underfoot. Common fruit cannot compare to elven alchemy. The knight says, I will only eat this to fill my stomach. Once we find the treasure, I will buy real food. But the tank and the assassin decide to take a bite. The assassin seems to be a connoisseur of shapes because She is practically drooling, ready to let the fruit melt on her tongue. The moment they take a bite, reality shatters. The trio feels their souls transported to a tropical paradise. A parrot screams, "Banana," as a rhythmic beat takes over. What? Appears to be a singing cricket shouts, "Let's dance, Samba." It is a carnival of flavors designed to purge all fatigue, frustration. They surrender to the rhythm, dancing unintentionally. The assassin moves with lethal grace, her curves swaying, and even the knight is caught in the flow. Follow me. 1, 2, 3. The three of them lose their minds to the music. The assassin squeezes the banana too hard in her euphoria, and it explodes. The nectar bursts out, covering a significant portion of her outfit in a sticky layer. Did I perhaps wander into the wrong genre? They keep dancing maniacally in the illusion, but back in the cold cave they are, writhing around like lunatics. Li Ping and the elf are confused. "Master, have you lost your mind?" Suddenly the knight freezes. A realization strikes him like lightning. His stats are skyrocketing. The assassin and the muscle mommy have leveled up instantly. Their power levels skyrocketed just by consuming the spiritual fruit. Our hero applauds their breakthrough with a carefree smile. Truly magnificent. What a show. Foreign customs are fascinating indeed. Watching a centaur revel in such ecstasy during the ritual dance was a sight to behold. Yet the Empress interprets the scene with cold logic. Li Ping knows the grim truth beneath the surface. They were walking into a death trap. That is precisely why he boosted their strength to keep this little theater of survival running. A cruel mercy. Meanwhile, Gilia the elf grows suspicious. "Master, what is this anomaly? How did your cultivation soar so suddenly?" Annie answers simply, "It is the power of Li Ping's gift." Gilia scoffs, turning her gaze away in disbelief. "Absurd. Do you take me for a fool? As if mere fruit could be blessed with such holy essence." But the Amazonian warrior interrupts, her eyes wide with shock. "Gilia, you know nothing. This treasure propelled me instantly to the 2-star demonic realm." Even the assassin is left reeling in confusion. The moment the essence touched her lips, she ascended straight into the realm of demonic sovereignty. Was it enchanted alchemy? The knight himself is bewildered. My foundation was solid, but this single bite forced a breakthrough of 3 entire stages. Unbelievable. He locks eyes with our protagonist. Li Ping reveal the origin of this treasure. Li Ping plays the fool, scratching his head innocently. I truly have no idea." The knight presses on. "Is it a sect? Secret? Why the silence?" "I have nothing to hide," Li Ping shrugs. "It is just a common fruit." The knight narrows his eyes. "Do not lie. I sense the energy signature. It is a hybrid spirit harvest." Li Ping nods, rolling with the lie. "Ah yes, completely organic cultivation, nature's bounty at its finest." 2 more gluttonous souls step forward to partake in the blessing. But as they bring the fruit to their lips, the divine energy withers, and it rots instantly. "You gave us garbage," the elf hisses at the decay in her palm. Annie interjects. "It is a matter of soul synchronization." Elizabeth smirks. "The 4-eyed girl is sharper than she looks." Annie bows, claiming she is merely repeating what she learned from ancient texts. Synchronization. The knight demands clarity. "Explain this phenomenon." Annie adjusts her glasses. "The scriptures mention specific criteria, that heaven-tier treasures require unique conditions to unlock their potential. Without the right catalyst, they remain dormant. Perhaps the fruit requires a trinity of souls consuming it simultaneously." Li Ping suddenly points at Elizabeth. "Stop the act. Look, she is devouring it alone with no issue." Annie stammers an apology, her mind racing. "Wait. Perhaps the restrictions of a treasure can be bypassed, if the user's spiritual pressure vastly exceeds the item's rank." Elizabeth shoots a piercing glare. "Cease your staring, girl. It is rude." Annie flinches, noticing the elf's eyes glowing crimson. Is that rage or jealousy? The elf quickly composes herself. "It must be the residue of my elven elixirs reacting to the fruit." Yes, that is the only logical explanation. Greedy for power, the knight demands another. Gilia protests, "Master, do not fall for this charade," but our hero smiles benevolently. For a cultivator, sharing the harvest is a virtue. However, Elizabeth has no patience for charity. She snatches the remaining stash from his grasp. "Denied. These are mine for later." She carelessly tosses the legendary loot over her shoulder. "Move out. Break time is over." Li Ping offers an awkward bow to the knight. "Forgive her manners. I will share more when fate allows." The knight waves them off, telling his harem to proceed while he lingers behind. Li Ping calls out, "Are you not joining us?" But Elizabeth cuts him off with icy authority. "Leave him. We march now." Li Ping waves to the group. "Until we meet again." Meanwhile, the assassin eyes the retreating figures with malicious intent. "Master, shall we liberate that backpack from their corpses?" The Amazonian warrior adds, "They surely hide even greater artifacts within." The knight savors the last bite of power, his expression dark. "Patience." The time to strike is not yet upon us. He fixates on Elizabeth. Asterisk. The way she handles such priceless treasures with indifference. No common tribal savage would possess such arrogance. Asterisk. He licks his lips, a predator scenting prey. Asterisk. The kingdom's 4 great powers recently issued a massive bounty. Asterisk. Asterisk. For the lost princess. Could destiny have delivered her straight to me times? I thought he sought only gold. But his ambition is far darker. He intends not to sell her, but to claim her. He seeks to rise through the imperial aristocracy by making her his conquest. A path to unlimited power and spiritual fruits. God. A fool's dream. He retrieves a sinister artifact from his inventory. With this, I shall break your will completely. He chuckles, the sound twisting into the laughter of a madman. His 4 concubines swoon intoxicated by his twisted aura. Master's pheromones. They are overwhelming. We must serve him. It seems his charm is merely another cursed item. But deep in the dungeon's shadows, 1,000 eyes awaken. The alpha of the Shadow Wolves stalks the path hungry for blood. Yet the moment it spots our protagonist's terror, grips the beast, and it flees. Li Ping glances around the gloom. Elizabeth, the shadows grow distinctively heavier here. Is this truly the way out? I told you, she replies without looking back. The labyrinth's geometry is merely an illusion. We are close. Suddenly, a presence descends from the void above. Annie screams a warning. Master hostile incoming. A blinding beam of energy erupts. Boom dust billows as Li Ping coughs, waving away the smoke. As the haze clears, the knight steps forth with a mocking grin. Oh, my apologies. The wives stood dazed, their minds clouded by some enchantment, flushed and breathless. The elf approached, dripping with false charm. Apologies for the delay, Lady Elizabeth. Allow me to serve you for eternity. I shall even be your steed. She cut him off with a gaze cold enough to freeze hell. Know your place. You aren't fit to be the dirt beneath my feet. Rage twisted Elf Gilea's face. You arrogant wench, but his head was severed from his shoulders before the insult landed. Fear dilated everyone's pupils. The cavern trembled as debris rained down, revealing a swarm of nightmares above. Li Ping shouted ambush from the sky. A monstrous dragonfly descended, already devouring the elf's severed head. The beast crushed the wall and lunged for Elizabeth. She didn't flinch. A single glare caused the monster to explode into gore. Beside her, Anne sobbed in terror. Li Ping, seizing the chance, scrambled to cling to the voluptuous queen for survival. Devil, watch the hands. But his face screamed desperation. It's a matter of life and death. Elizabeth, what's the plan? Elizabeth observed the chaos with calculating eyes. Was this a test of human nature? Let the selfish perish by their own arrogance. It seemed so. The dragonflies swarmed like locusts. The wives cowered behind the carriage while Glee erected a barrier. Li Ping pressed, Do we just stand here? The knight remained passive. Surely you can find your own path, he sneered. His scheme was obvious, force Elizabeth to reveal her true power. If she did nothing, her servants would be monster fodder. The muscle mommy glared at the men. Alliances are dead. Every man for himself, tension spiked. Glee laughed. Step outside my barrier and die, but karma struck instantly, his head went flying. The swarm was relentless. The assassin danced through the chaos, barely surviving. The knight finally drew his blade, joining the slaughter. Li Ping stayed hidden like a rat. The knight unleashed a thunder slash, bisecting a beast with a crack of lightning. The muscle mommy became a juggernaut, shield-bashing skulls. Even the assassin wove her deadly arts to secure a kill. Their sudden strength came from the profound banana they had consumed earlier. But the assassin collapsed, panting. It's hopeless, she thought. The horde is endless. We'll be drained of mana and stamina before the end. Jaws snapped toward her head, but the knight intervened, cleaving the beast. It crashed down, broken. Yet the air still buzzed with danger. Elizabeth turned to Li Ping. You see their true colors, still crave this adventure. Li Ping played the innocent fool, though his eyes were sharp. Forget it. Our paths should part here. The outside world is too chaotic, he mused. Perhaps a simple life on my farm is the only true path. Elizabeth smirked. He was calculating. First he let them suffer. Then he assessed their value as pawns. And now the third stage, discarding the trash. She commanded, prepare to move out. Li Ping feigned confusion. Move out. Have we reached the destination? It's right before us, she replied. As they moved, a monster lunged. Anne glanced at it, and her teddy bear morphed into a hulking beast, obliterating the threat. Just as quickly, the beast shrank back into a harmless bunny. Elizabeth looked baffled. Hey, what just happened? Never mind, let's go. Elizabeth touched the stone wall, sending ripples through reality as an ancient spell activated. A colossal gate materialized. Li Ping gasped. The exit was a hidden dungeon gate all along. Golden light spilled out. Elizabeth led the way, urging haste. From the battlefield, the knight and Li Ping locked eyes for a split second. "Let's go, Anne." And just like that, they vanished into the light. The knight, abandoned with the monsters, felt something snap. "Climb on my back, we run now," the knight roared, his sanity fraying. Damn them, treating us like disposable tools. They charged, barely slipping through as the massive doors slammed shut. Silence fell. Before them lay a mountain of gold, a floating island of riches. The knight's wives stumbled in safe. Li Ping cheered, celebrating with little Anne. Suddenly the knight hurled Li Ping aside. The muscle mommy tossed Anne like a rag doll. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The knight stood there, staring at the gold, a psychopath's grin stretching across his face. The Demon King's nest. It's real. Li Ping dusted himself off. "We're even now. I don't need thanks, but hold back the hostility, yeah." The knight turned, eyes dead. "True. You filled the party quota perfectly. As thanks, I'll grant you a swift death." But then a single coin clattered. In the center of the gold, a massive golden eye snapped open. The room trembled. A giant hand rose from the pile. A golden dragon erupted from the treasure, its pressure crushing down on them all. Li Ping sweated bullets. "Elizabeth A. Dragon. My daughter, there's a literal dragon," but Anne was shaking for a different reason. Something. "Even scarier is here," she whispered, hiding her face. Her eyes turned void black. "Master, what do we do?" Elizabeth watched unmoved. The dragon roared, a sound of pure destruction. The knight shouted to his wives, "Buy me time. We strike now. Pour every ounce of mana into a single death blow." The party roared in agreement. As the dragon swiped, they launched into the air. They barely managed to evade the first catastrophe. The tank, a towering iron maiden, barked at the assassin. "Draw its aggro. I will create an opening. Consider it done." The assassin scattered paper talismans, invoking a shadow clone jutsu. Dozens of illusions flooded the battlefield while she threw herself at the beast. The dragon roared, distracted by the swarm. The knight's eyes flashed. "The beast is exposed. I no longer need to conceal my true power. I shall gather the storm itself." Ultimate Art Swift Thunder Slash. His blade crackled with blue lightning, charging to its limit. The shadow clones unleashed a barrage of strikes, but their daggers couldn't even scratch the scales. The distraction was failing. "Pathetic," the Iron Maiden scoffed. "Step aside, I'll handle this." She activated her explosive shield transformation, shifting into artillery mode. "Eat this." She launched a volley of mana torpedoes straight into the dragon's leg. Boom, direct impact. She smirked, certain of her victory. But as the smoke cleared, the ancient beast merely stared at her, completely unharmed. It raised a massive claw. Her confidence shattered into confusion. And then, darkness. With a single crush, she was reduced to nothing but a red stain on the floor. "Sister, no," the assassin screamed. Rage consumed her. "You monster." She wove hand signs with blinding speed. Secret art, 1,000 shadow clones. 1,000 illusions filled the chamber. A mesmerizing army designed to overwhelm the senses. She was certain this would buy them time, but the dragon looked bored. It flapped its wings, pulling every gold coin in the treasury into a swirling vortex, a sword made of pure wealth and wind. The tornado exploded. Gold coins fired like machine gun rounds in every direction, a bullet hell of greed. The projectiles shredded the air around our protagonist, Li Ping, dodged by a hair's breadth. Elizabeth glanced at him. So calm in the face of death, as expected of you. Inside, Li Ping was screaming. Asterisk. Calm. I'm terrifyingly lucky times. The dragon began to spin, preparing a second wave. Suddenly, the young girl, Anne, slammed her hands together. Invocation. Dollhouse Guardian. A colossal spirit bear materialized from the void. It stood like a mountain blocking the coin barrage. The assassin shouted to her clones, "Protect the master, don't let her concentration break." She managed to pull Li Ping to safety, a smile of relief on her face. But the dragon noticed. It fired a single coin with sniper precision. Asterisk. Headshot. Asterisk. Now the knight unleashed his charged attack. Thundercut 300% output. He soared like a lightning bolt. Not even a spiritual demon can withstand this. The impact shook the dungeon, but when the dust settled, a mere scratch. His blade shattered into dust. He stared at his broken hilt, paralyzing fear taking hold. The dragon didn't hesitate. A casual tail whip sent him flying into the abyss. The entire room crumbled. Now only the main trio remained, facing the 4-star golden dragon of the demon sect. Li Ping and Elizabeth stood with arms crossed, exuding an aura of absolute dominance. "Elizabeth," he said, his voice deep. Internally, he was panicking. Asterisk. The tank is paced. The knight is gone. I have to use my trump card or we're all dead times. Elizabeth, handle it. She looked at him confused. Asterisk. Is he commanding me? Has he seen through my disguise times? The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Li Ping whispered, "If you don't act now, everyone dies." Asterisk, including me, that's why I'm scared asterisk. Elizabeth's eyes narrowed. Do not dare order me around human. She thought he was using her secret against her. Asterisk. The audacity. Asterisk. Asterisk. But he's right. The true nightmare is just beginning. Asterisk. Elizabeth sighed, placing a hand on the trembling girl's head. Jiangxi bloodline. Awaken. Show me the true magic of your ancestors. Anne's eyes rolled back, glowing with an eerie light. Locked memories flooded her mind. The orphanage. The laughter of children. The warm dinner. And the night she woke up, to a woman staring at her with a devil's smile. The scene shifted. Monsters from the abyss breached the orphanage walls. Screams echoed in the halls. She was about to be devoured when the spirit bear manifested on her back. It tore the creatures apart, but it was too late. The caretakers, the children, everyone had already moved on to the next life. Back in reality, Elizabeth forced her to relive the trauma. You suppressed these memories. You ran from your power and collapsed to her knees, clutching her head. No. It's foolishness. She extracted dark energy from her own mind. It's all my fault. I killed my brothers and sisters. She sobbed into the stone floor, begging for forgiveness. Elizabeth looked down coldly. You are a disgrace to the Jiangxi bloodline. If you want to escape this prison of regret, then stand up, fight for me, and wiped her tears. Through the sobbing, a fire ignited in her eyes. At least this time. I will save Brother Li Ping. Suddenly, gravity surrendered. She floated into the air, wrapped in a terrifying purple aura. Li Ping watched, stunned. She spread her arms and the void answered, forbidden art. 4-beast puppetry. An eagle, a rabbit, a panda, and a snake manifested. The dragon lunged, but its massive claw sank into the panda's belly. The spirit beast expanded, absorbing the kinetic energy like a sponge. It snapped back, trapping the dragon's limb. In a flash, the rabbit spirit launched a sonic kick, snapping the dragon's neck instantly. Li Ping's jaw dropped. Elizabeth, what did you do to her? The transformation was monstrous. Elizabeth smirked, her hair flowing in the aura. I did nothing special. I simply forced her to accept her reality. The rabbit stood victorious. The dust clears. The little spirit bunny desperately clings to the dragon's claw. Suddenly, the serpent strikes, constricting the beast. But the dragon unleashes its golden wings to summon a storm. A divine tornado rises, yet the eagle dispels it instantly. Li Ping turns to Elizabeth. What is this bloodline power? Suddenly, a force slams him into the dirt. The fallen knight emerges from the shadows. He clutches the stolen loot, laughing maniacally. Elizabeth sneers. That trash still draws breath. Li Ping screams for his bag, but the knight, eyes wild with madness, grins like a psychopath. Your lifeline is mine. He devours the kingdom fruits, pineapple, orange, grape, gluttonously. Li Ping is baffled. Dude, isn't it too late for a snack? But the knight swallows it all. Boom. A terrifying aura explodes. His flesh ripples and mutates, muscles swelling grotesquely. He transcends his limits. He checks his status window, level unknown. Question marks fill his vision. He stares at his hands. Yes, infinite power. The Holy Sword Guild's elders are nothing to me now. The dragon roars in fury, unleashing a golden breath, but the knight vanishes into thin air. Too slow, he appears instantly, delivering a thunder kick that slams the dragon into the earth. The centaur descends upon the altar, his target, the legendary Demon King's chalice. With this artifact, I will become a god. He drains the chalice without hesitation. Bloodlust floods his eyes, demonic wings burst from his spine, a complete metamorphosis. Ah, the intoxicating taste of damnation. Enlightenment floods his mind as power surges. Li Ping panics. He's evolving. Elizabeth, save me. Do something, my daughter. She attempts a marionette spell too late. A hand pierces her chest in a spray of crimson. He hoists her high. First, I exterminate the real threat. Li Ping watches in horror. He discards her like a broken doll and points at Li Ping. You are next. But the boy ignores him. He rushes to Elizabeth. Stay with me. The centaur looms over them, mocking her pain. I know you held back, he sneers. Now choose, become my woman and hand over your kingdom. Or I break you, use you until you're empty, and sell what's left to the highest bidder. Tears stream down Li Ping's face. Kill him, the centaur glares. Silence. A mere servant dares speak. He flashes forward, intending to crush the insect. Impact. A shockwave scatters gold coins everywhere. But as the dust settles, Li Ping stands unharmed. Fine, I'm tired of pretending. Is the sleeping dragon finally waking up? The centaur is blasted back, coughing blood. Impossible, my attack. It reflected. He glares at the girl. Your magic, Elizabeth realizes the truth. Not even I could scratch his defense. You baited him, she thinks. He broke himself against your invincible armor. Li Ping looks menacing, but internally, phew, it worked. Just as I planned. As long as I feed Elizabeth gourmet meals, she'll defend me. I just need to be useful. She can't let her personal chef die. Killing me means starving her. He has no clue. He's the strongest existence here. He is becoming an accidental one-punch legend. The centaur wipes blood from his lip. Arrogant fool. I only used 50% of my power. You rejected a demon king, now you die. He charges, gathering catastrophic energy. Elizabeth doesn't flinch. Reflect this, the centaur screams. But a shadow looms from the left. Wham! A massive force obliterates him into the bedrock. Elizabeth smiles, finally awake. The centaur lies broken, his form disintegrating. From the abyss, a golden light emerges. The villain trembles. The previous dragon, just a fragment, a crumb of its true majesty. The beast absorbs its clone. Elizabeth coos. You used to love head pats with your tail. Behold, the true void dragon, the golden queen, from the deepest abyss of the demon realm. Impossible, the centaur shrieks. I possess a demon king's power I cannot lose. Splat. One claw descends, erasing him from existence. Li Ping stands frozen. Is this real? Elizabeth breaks the silence, her voice calm yet commanding. I believe you saw through this illusion long ago. This world is nothing but a mirage. Suddenly, gravity shifts and they are floating in the void. Despite magic being your blind spot, she continues, I knew a deception this shallow could not fool your senses. The massive dragon before them roars, speaking a tongue lost to time. It communicates solely with the queen. Then tears begin to flow from its massive eyes. Poof! A burst of spiritual smoke explodes. The beast shrinks down, transforming into a small humanoid figure. Of course, it is the law of the genre. The fearsome dragon is actually a girl. Her name is Amelia, Elizabeth's loyal pet. She weeps openly. My queen, is it truly you? I have waited an eternity. Elizabeth looks down at her subject. You have ascended to the realm of a demon king. Yet you remain as naive as a hatchling. Her gaze softens just a fraction. I avoided returning here because I knew this would happen. I knew you would awaken and cling to me like a lost child. But Amelia does not care for dignity. She lunges, embracing her master tightly. No, master. You vanished for 500 years without a trace. My soul ached for you every single day. We are then shown the fragments of Amelia's past, a being born from the chaotic energies between heaven and earth. It was Elizabeth who found the primordial egg. She poured her own dark mana into it, incubating the life within. Upon her birth, a blood pact was forged. Elizabeth gifted her the name Amelia. She crafted her personality, trained her in combat, and raised her with care. To Amelia, Elizabeth was everything. That is why she swore a sacred oath of eternal servitude. As she matured, she became the queen's wings. She served as Elizabeth's mount, soaring across the continents. Together they faced catastrophic beasts and ended the era of chaos. Elizabeth's solution was absolute. She decided to bring the world to heel under her dominion. Amelia rejoiced to see her mistress conquer all. But heavy is the head that wears the crown. Elizabeth's smile faded. Amelia realized a painful truth. The stronger the queen became, the less she needed protection. Then came the day of abandonment. Elizabeth drew the sacred sword and vanished into the void. Back in the present, the political fallout is disastrous. Without the queen's terrifying aura, the demon realm is in chaos. Her legendary reputation can no longer hold the factions together. Crime rates are skyrocketing. The minister of the orcs slams his fist on the table. The tribes are restless. This alliance is crumbling. Several territories are already declaring independence. The only chain binding them was the primal fear of the queen. Now that chain is broken. The dwarf minister grumbles, stroking his beard. Perhaps it is time we return to our own lands. Every race for themselves until a ruler returns. Tuya, the elven minister, turns to the head of the demons. Jing, you were her right hand. Where is Elizabeth? Was she slain by the hero of prophecy? Jing slams his hand down. Impossible. I have witnessed her true power. There is no being in this dimension capable of defeating her. Do as you please with your territories. I will hunt for her majesty myself. Even Malloy, her former servant, agrees. I will scour the earth until I find her. The council dissolves in failure. The ministers divide the lands and scatter. But Amelia wanted no part of their power struggles. She took a single chalice of wine and walked away. She returned to the sanctuary where her egg was first found. She hoped against hope that Elizabeth would return to the beginning. She waited and waited. Seasons changed. Empires fell. She waited until time lost its meaning. And now finally her patience has been rewarded. Tears stream down her face. Mistress, you are home. Elizabeth nods, analyzing Amelia's aura. It seems my plan bore fruit. This agonizing wait forced you into deep meditation. It was the key to unlocking your potential as a demon king. Amelia cries harder, overwhelmed with emotion. Mistress, please never leave me again. The poor girl misunderstands completely. She thinks, she abandoned me for 5 centuries, just to help me level up. She really does everything for my sake. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the emotional reunion. Hey, Elizabeth. Li Ping leaps up, trembling with annoyance. Stop living in the past and save Annie already. At that moment, the spell breaks completely. Annie opens her eyes disoriented. Brother Li Ping. Where? Where are we? Li Ping sighs in relief. Annie, are you hurt? She shakes her head. I'm fine. She reaches into her bag and pulls out the apple he gave her. The fruit is crushed, completely destroyed. Li Ping pats her head gently. Don't worry about the snack. Just relax. Elizabeth watches him, her eyes narrowing. She realizes the truth. From the very beginning, he had orchestrated this outcome. The scenario was set the moment he handed her that fruit. Meanwhile, Amelia is rubbing her face against Elizabeth like a cat, but her instincts flare up. She notices her queen's gaze lingering on the human man. Jealousy ignites instantly. Mistress. Who is that insect over there? Elizabeth smirks. Him. That is the hero of legends. I have been staying at his residence during my vacation. Amelia's rage boils over. The hero. She thinks, did he kidnap my mistress for 500 years? Is he trying to steal her heart? I must eliminate him immediately. Li Ping smiles, his expression innocent. My name is Li Ping. Nice to meet you. Amelia smiles back, but her aura turns dark. She formulates a plan. Now that I have reached the Demon King rank, if the Queen and I combine our power, we can slay this hero. She doesn't hesitate. She summons the phantom of the Dragon King's claw. Nice to meet you. In hell, she charges with world-shattering force. Bam! The strike hits him square in the chest. An explosion of dust and debris swallows them, but Amelia is confused. What happened? He blocked it. The dust clears. Li Ping stands there unharmed. Oops, he says flatly. Sorry, I couldn't react in time. Amelia's mind races. My attack can pulverize a city. And he nullified it with his face. Li Ping reaches out his hand. My turn to take the initiative. Cold sweat pours down Amelia's back. She realizes the gap in their power is an abyss. This man. His pressure is more suffocating than the mistress. The poor dragon girl trembles. No. Please don't kill me. But Li Ping simply takes her hand. Gently. Sorry for messing up your handshake, he says with a smile. Now I see why Elizabeth is so relaxed. She has a polite friend like you watching her back. Amelia freezes. Handshake friend. Elizabeth chuckles darkly. Friend, you could say that. But in reality, she is my mount. Li Ping blinks. Mount. His imagination runs wild for a split second. Elizabeth snaps her fingers, and just like that, they are transported back to reality. Enough. That is quite sufficient for today, Elizabeth commanded. Amelia's eyes sparkled with adoration. Mistress, your power is truly absolute. Li Ping watched from the side, equally impressed. Asterisk. Is it truly that asterisk? Asterisk. Simple to return to glory. All I need to do is cling to Elizabeth's golden thighs and my life is set times. However, for young Annie, the spiritual pressure was too immense. Her consciousness faded as she collapsed onto Li Ping's shoulder. Elizabeth glanced over. Take the girl to rest. I have matters to discuss with Amelia. The scene shifts back to their sanctuary on the farm. Amelia knelt instantly. What is your will? Mistress, command me. My very existence is yours to use. Elizabeth's expression darkened. Tell me, have you heard of the Black Demon Guild? Amelia searched her memories. I was asleep for centuries. Then realization struck. Ah, that trash Malul, the fallen prince of humanity. Do you recall him? Elizabeth rubbed her temples. Vaguely. Amelia looked confused. Wait, you summoned me for him. Why not hunt him yourself? Elizabeth's eyes narrowed. It is not about the man. Rumor has it this Black Guild slaughters innocents under the banner of resurrecting me. That displeases me. Amelia's aura flared with rage. Resurrect you, the audacity. You stand right here alive and supreme. This is blasphemy. What are your orders? Elizabeth's voice turned ice cold. Erase them. Wipe their existence from this world. But leave no trace that leads back to me or this sanctuary. Amelia bowed low. Consider it done. Elizabeth nodded. Succeed in this, and I shall grant you true freedom. Amelia smirked. Asterisk. Freedom. In my book, that means clinging to my mistress for eternity. Asterisk. With renewed devotion, she launched into the night sky, but suddenly danger sensed. A projectile tore through the clouds, detonating with a thunderous boom. Smoke cleared to reveal Amelia's scorched skin. Who dares ambush me? Assessing the damage, She realized the power level. Asterisk. This energy. A sovereign realm expert times. Down below the Guardian system. Y flashed red. Target locked. Initiating. Defense level 2. Cold sweat ran down Amelia's back. Another missile locked on. She deflected it with her wing, shouting, "You chose the wrong opponent." But her confidence shattered as the sky filled with a barrage of steel rain. The explosion swallowed the entire horizon. Poor Amelia fell battered and broken. Y processed the data. Target persists. Life signs active. Escalating to level 3. At that critical moment, Elizabeth roared, "You stupid dog, she is my subordinate, stand down." The system avatar trembled in fear. Understood. Adding to white. List. Amelia fled into the distance, traumatized. Asterisk. This place is a death trap. I need to escape times. Meanwhile, inside the house, our hero sliced oranges with sword-like precision. Here. He offered a glass to the recovering girl. Drink this. It will help. Annie whispered a thanks and took a sip. Instantly, her eyes widened. Asterisk. This energy times, divine mana flooded her cells. Every drop contained a tsunami of magical power, she gasped in awe. Asterisk. Is this the legendary elixir of the gods times? Her mind transcended reality, entering a spiritual trance. She recalled a nightmare from the orphanage. A monster wearing her face spoke. Asterisk, I am you. Stop denying your nature times, Annie wept in the vision, lost in darkness. Back in reality, Leping collapsed onto the cushions. Ah, the couch. Truly the strongest artifact. Just then, Elizabeth entered her presence, filling the room. So the memories return. She looked down at Annie. The Jean clan. Ancestors swore eternal loyalty to me. When your bloodline awakened, the ancient oath stirred within your soul. Annie looked up and saw not a woman, but a titan holding her very life in its palm. Trembling, she stammered, Are you the Calamity, the Demon Queen? Elizabeth stood tall. I am the ruler of this world. Annie was bewildered, but the legends. You died in the final duel with the hero. Then, who is he? She pointed at Leping. The man scratched his head awkwardly. I am ashamed to admit it, but yes, I am the hero. Annie's eyes lit up as she connected the dots. I see. The ultimate forbidden romance. It went like this. Right, Leping and Elizabeth fought the decisive battle for supremacy. But after a month of clashing blades, hatred turned to passion. Sick of the bloodshed, you abandoned the war to find love. You faked your deaths to live in seclusion for 500 years, Elizabeth scoffed. A creative story. Almost accurate. Leping face-palmed. She got it completely wrong. Elizabeth shifted her gaze, her tone turning sharp. However, for a descendant of the supreme demon warriors, you are pathetic. You are a disgrace to the demon clan. Leping blinked. Wait, she isn't human. Annie sat frozen, silent. Elizabeth began the history lesson. 600 years ago, a child named Jean awakened the demon lineage. When his eyes glowed crimson, his potential became limitless. Mana surged like a storm, but as his power grew, he descended into madness. Only slaughter could sate his hunger. In mere years, he turned the northern territories into a graveyard. Hundreds of my elite warriors fell to his blade. His arrogance swelled until he dared to march on my castle to challenge me. Naturally, I crushed him. She gestured dismissively. I sealed his madness and bound his soul. Since then, his line has served me faithfully. Annie shook her head, tears falling. I know none of this. My first memory is the church. The nuns. The brothers. They were my family. Elizabeth delivered the cruel truth. You slaughtered them all. When your power awakened, you lost control. Your mind broke to protect you from the guilt. You created a fantasy that you were waiting for them to come back. Elizabeth mused internally. Asterisk. With the potential in her blood, Jean's descendant could have conquered the world while I was away. Asterisk. Panic gripped her heart as she screamed in denial, refusing to accept the nightmare before her. Leping stepped in. Elizabeth, wait. We met her brothers at the market, didn't we? But Elizabeth's eyes were cold as steel. Enough delusions. She tore open a visualization portal. Let us expose the ugly truth. Behold the reality of your so-called kin. As the illusion shattered, only lifeless dolls remained in Anne's arms. Her mind had warped reality, breathing false life into them. Elizabeth sealed the portal with a snap. Do you comprehend your folly now? You are draining your mana to sustain these empty vessels. That is the shackle keeping you stagnant at the mere mage level. Leping watched in confusion, struggling to process the revelation. But Elizabeth was ruthless, determined to excise the rot of the Black Apostles. To destroy them, you awakened your dormant bloodline. But your mind fractured. You went berserk and slaughtered everyone. That was the memory she buried. The trauma triggered a violent reaction. Violet aura erupted from Anne like a volcano, channeling energy worthy of a Saiyan warrior. Before she could destroy the room, Elizabeth flicked her forehead with terrifying precision, knocking her unconscious instantly. Li Ping caught her falling form. "I know you pity her," Elizabeth said coldly. "But if that bloodline triggers again, this entire city will be ash." Li Ping, however, refused to give up. Back at the church, consciousness slowly returned to our tragic heroine. She rose from the bed, head bowed in shame, apologizing for being a burden. Li Ping dismissed her worries effortlessly. They had used Elizabeth's teleportation magic. "But how is your heart?" At his words, tears flowed like rivers. The guilt of the massacre crushed her soul. But Li Ping shook his head. "You are no murderer. You fought to protect the innocent." She refused his comfort, drowning in self-blame. Our hero's gaze hardened. "They attacked you. They forced your hand. Do not carry their sins." Besides, he added, shifting the mood, "we are still missing materials." But Anne continued to weep, convinced her sins were unforgivable. Li Ping interrupted her spiraling thoughts. "When you crafted those dolls, your technique was flawless, yet your heart was filled with fear. Terrified the stuffing would spill, you tied the knots too tight. In your anxiety, you suffocated their potential spirits. But fear not. I will help you forge them anew." He began dismantling the dolls. Anne panicked, watching her brothers being torn apart. As her aura began to flare into madness again, Li Ping unleashed his ultimate weapon, not a sword but words of power echoing Shakespeare. "Do not wander beneath the ancient tree, do not question the falling rain, and do not weep within the abyss." His voice pierced her psyche. She awoke within her own mindscape, a vast lake of consciousness. Above, a colossal golden hand descended from the heavens. Li Ping's voice thundered. "Look forward, never back. As long as you possess the courage to face the sun, you will see this mist was merely a passing drizzle." The mental skies cleared, radiance bathing her soul. In the real world, Li Ping held a small, perfectly crafted figure in his palm. "Behold the vessel I have remade for you. His name is Raphael, an angelic doll radiating pure healing energy." He offered it as a catalyst for her recovery. As she touched it, a familiar warmth flooded her veins. The spirit of her brothers lived on. In her vision, she saw them all standing beside Li Ping, smiling. "Rest now," he whispered. The ghosts faded, leaving only peace. Overwhelmed with relief, she wept once more, swearing to protect the church. Our hero smiled, seeing the storm had finally passed. He let out a long sigh. "Thank the system, I actually read those psychotherapy manuals back in the day." Meanwhile, in the abyssal demon realm, high above the swamp of death, Amelia soared through the crimson sky. Looking down at the devastation, she shook her head. "What a disgrace. To treat my mistress's domain with such disrespect." She landed, and instantly a horde of shadow creatures swarmed to devour her soul, but they were courting death. In a microsecond, the monsters erupted into gore. Why have they turned this sacred ground into a garbage dump? She marched forward until a chubby, infant-like mage emerged from a floating grimoire, demanding her identity. A member of the Black Guild. He proclaimed himself the Sixth Pillar, a 5-star demon. Around him, a chamber of pulsating eggs incubated unholy abominations. Deep within the Black Guild's hall, the High Council gathered. "A powerful presence approaches," the leader muttered, sensing the disturbance. Reports flooded in. "One of our invading troops was annihilated at the Saint's Guide." "Is this an act of retribution?" A round, arrogant girl scoffed. "Let them come. Za will handle the trash." A tentacled villain agreed. "None can reach this sanctuary." But the master on the throne smirked. "I worried about gathering materials. Who knew the lamb would walk straight into the slaughterhouse?" It was Malfoy, the villain from the story's beginning, now twisted and 500 years more decrepit, but his arrogance remained blinding. Back outside the Sixth Pillar, with the pacifier, didn't even stand a chance. Amelia didn't fight him. She obliterated his very existence. The dragon form crushed him like an insignificant insect. It was over in a heartbeat. Suddenly, a new squad of apostles materialized. Leading them was the balloon-wielding girl, confident in her numbers. But she failed to realize she stood before an apex predator. Amelia unleashed the Golden Dragon King's aura. A single roar shockwaved through the swamp, blowing the enemies away like dust in a hurricane. Unfazed, she strode to the gate. A giant sentient eye tried to intimidate her. She shattered it with a single contemptuous kick. Entering the boss chamber, she locked eyes with Malfoy. "You look absolutely wretched," she spat. Malfoy's eyes widened in recognition, but before he could even tremble, he was detonated on his throne. The remaining villains froze in terror, their minds unable to comprehend the power gap. She manifested a massive draconic claw and crushed him into the dirt. Mal, barely surviving, asked why she had awakened, but it seems his regeneration arts are top tier. Did you locate Elizabeth? She pauses, confused as sudden tentacles erupt from the earth, coiling tightly around her limbs. Of course, those treacherous lackeys. The tentacle user sneers that there is no path to escape. Amelia asks, "Escape? What are you talking about?" She bites down, and the monster recoils in terror as she starts devouring the trap. Like it was a bowl of spicy noodles, it is over for him. For dessert, a voluptuous enemy ambushes her, claiming she surrendered and joined the dark side against her will. She blows a kiss, activating a high-level charm spell, and indeed, her aura is thick with seduction right in front of Amelia. She declares that since physical attacks fail, she will enslave Amelia's heart. However, Amelia lets out a massive belch, expelling the octopus she just digested and instantly obliterates the seductress. Another minion leaps to attack. Deleted. Another attempts to strike, eradicated. Now she stands face to face with Mal. She asks if he wants to end his own life or face her wrath. Mal admits he cannot defeat a monster like her. However, if he merges with the entity behind him, the odds change. Amelia looks past him to see an off-road incubation cocoon, where an artificial Elizabeth is being cultivated. 1 month later, we shift to the humble farm, planting crops, watering the fields and harvesting. A quiet life of domestic cultivation. Elizabeth finds the peace strange. She senses a disturbance in the air. Li Ping was growing impatient, and finally he made a resolve. That morning he prepared the exact breakfast Elizabeth adored. She immediately narrows her eyes. Stop stalling. I detest this atmosphere. What is your true objective? Li Ping speaks earnestly. After coexisting for this past year, you know I hold no hostility toward you. This proves that the hero and the demon queen can live in harmony. But I believe it is time for you to depart, Elizabeth, and dominate the world once more. She asks for his reasoning. He explains that when he went into seclusion, he never imagined she would end up here. The critical issue is that the timeline outside is accelerating. Without her presence, the apostles are ravaging the nations. Even this mysterious Black Guild has emerged, plunging the common folk into misery. Elizabeth scoffs, saying she cares little for chaos. It does not impact their sanctuary. For our protagonist, the system meant preventing the apocalypse, followed by peace. However, because they formed this bond, the world has fallen into ruin. He explains that he wanted to keep her here to prevent the destruction of the dimensional barrier. If he remained ignorant of the outside world, he could have lived here in bliss. But now that he has witnessed the suffering, his conscience cannot rest. Yet he can no longer be the hero, nor does he have the power to save the masses from this torment. Elizabeth, however, is running this through a romantic filter, interpreting his words as a confession that he cannot live without her. She asks, "Then what is your desire?" Li Ping replies, "I want you to return to the world and save everyone because I am an incompetent hero and I can no longer be selfish." In his mind, he thinks, even if this farm is destroyed by monsters, it is fine. I will just move to the city. But Elizabeth's internal translation is wild. He is being selfish by wanting to hoard the queen all to himself, refusing to share her with the world. She finishes her meal and asks, "So do you wish for me to leave this paradise and solve the mortal realm's trivial problems?" That is simple. Our hero beams with hope. "Seriously, you agree? Then I will pack your bags immediately." However, she turns cold. "No, I have zero interest in the outside world. But there are 2 methods to resolve your dilemma." She thinks, "You sly fox. Are you looking for an excuse to kick me out? I am not that easy to manipulate." Li Ping asks, "What are the 2 methods?" She says, "The first is simple. I go outside, cast a forbidden spell to destroy the entire world, and the problem is solved." Li Ping panics. "No, absolutely not that option." She says the second option is to find a proxy who can rule the world in her stead while she supports them from the shadows. Li Ping asks who could possibly fit that role. She smirks. "You already know. Besides myself, only you possess the qualifications." He breaks into a cold sweat. "Wait, you want me to become the world king?" Cut to the next scene. He is furiously practicing sword arts, utterly confused. How did the situation devolve into this? Beside him, she shouts, "Practice. With proper form. I want to see results." He responds, Okay, but internally she thinks, "Are you trying to play mind games with this queen? You are 10,000 years too early." I cannot deny your raw power slightly exceeds mine, but in terms of psychological warfare, you do not stand a chance. The queen seems to be falling into her own delusion. She recalls that when he asked her to leave this morning, she felt a pang of sorrow. But when he admitted he needed her, she realized the depth of his strategy. He understands perfectly that with their combined might, dominating the globe would be child's play. Therefore, the optimal path is to let the world flow naturally while they observe from above. Since she already deployed Amelia to handle the Black Guild, there is nothing to fear. Now, she is fully convinced he is feigning weakness with this training arc, but she believes she has seen through his romantic ploy. Apparently the legendary hero has fallen for the queen. Meanwhile, our boy is just sweating, genuinely believing in the plan to save the world. Is it truly possible to ascend to sword sainthood merely by swinging a blade 1,000 times a day? It sounds absurd. Yet here she is. She envisions him as the absolute apex of strength, though he currently seems content with taking a nap. Apparently she is the only one in this entire realm capable of satisfying this hero's peculiar malevolent tastes. But now she has a strategy. Even though she has no interest in trivial human emotions like love, the calculation changes when it involves him. He possesses the supreme authority of creation while she holds the pinnacle of swordsmanship and magic. If their bloodlines merged, they would birth a deity. What kind of monster would their child be? Would such an offspring shatter the very laws of reality? However, she cannot yield so easily. For now, she will allow him to indulge in his wretched swordsmanship training. He must cultivate his strength for the sake of their future legacy. Meanwhile, Li Ping is bewildered. What is this woman scrutinizing me with such intensity for? Does she truly intend to instruct me in the dark arts to dismantle the Black Guild? He focuses his energy for a strike, but as the blade descends, reality warps, the weapon vanishes, replaced by a child crashing to the earth. My sword, transformed into a human. The sword boy scoffs. Who are you calling a child? I am the manifestation of the legendary ego weapon Alpha. The queen demands an explanation, instantly recognizing the spirit's aura. Alpha lunges at her with murderous intent, shouting for her death, but a swift kick to the face sends him flying across the clearing. Sit down. We need to talk. Li Ping stammers an apology, unaware the boy was conscious this entire time. The spirit grumbles. He appeared at the critical climax of the battle against the Demon King, yet he has a question. Why has his master spent years doing nothing but chopping firewood? Li Ping begs him to calm down, but the spirit's rage boils over. Did you rewrite the scenario? And you witch, you are unworthy of standing beside the hero. Elizabeth's eyes glow dangerously. Are you courting death, little spirit? Alpha freezes. Actually, never mind. I choose life. This system is broken anyway. You are my savior, she smirks. Good. Since you have manifested, assist Li Ping in his conquest for world domination. Alpha pauses. Rule the world, Li Ping corrects her. It is more akin to saving the world. He glances away shyly. What are you saying? Li Ping, our hero, declares, I am weary of idleness. I shall shoulder the burden of a hero trained diligently and protect this realm. Alpha looks at him in disbelief. Practice. Are you blind to your own god-tier talent? You swung me 100 times and farmed enough experience to obliterate a demon lord. You even awakened my ego. This logic is flawed. The system notification explains that the experience points were absorbed by the trees, not the user. Li Ping sighs at Alpha. I know I possess trash-tier aptitude, but with you and Elizabeth, I can grow. Alpha opens his mouth to scream the truth. You are already overpowered. You fool, but Elizabeth casts a silent seal instantly. She orders Li Ping to wait while she has a private word with the spirit. She drags the boy behind a tree with a demonic grip. Clouds of dust and sounds of violence erupt. He returns, bruised and swollen. He salutes Li Ping. Understood. I pledge my loyalty to your cause, brother. Elizabeth claps her hands. Enough with the stalling. Let us move. The city of Titano is alive with energy. A blonde recruiter seeks guild prospects. A merchant hawks roasted phoenix chicken, and criminals lurk in the shadows. This territory falls under the jurisdiction of the Holy Sword Guild. Elizabeth whispers to Li Ping that her mana sensory perception is tingling. A cataclysmic event is brewing within these walls. It would be wise to investigate and gather intelligence. Li Ping nods solemnly. Indeed, the first step to conquest is information warfare. Alpha rolls his eyes. This is nonsense. This side quest is a waste of time. Elizabeth shoots him, a glare filled with killing intent. Shall I snap you in two? He clings to Li Ping in terror. My apologies. Suddenly the hero spots a flyer on the ground. These notices are everywhere. Could this be the event that she sensed? A grand tournament between guilds, Elizabeth confirms. A battle for supremacy, where each faction sends a champion. Drums of war, thunder, as the crowd places bets in a frenzy. Li Ping drags Elizabeth, who is dressed in stunning modern fashion, toward the colossal arena. However, at the entrance, a massive green minotaur blocks their path, claiming he cannot detect their entry passes. Li Ping steps forward. Elizabeth, allow me to handle this negotiation. He produces a heavy bag of gold coins. The poster stated 10 coins per ticket. We wish to purchase entry. The beast sneers. That price is gone. I have cornered the market. The price is now 200 coins per head. Li Ping grinds his teeth at the extortion, but Elizabeth simply weaves a hypnosis spell on the scalper. His eyes glaze over, and he hands over VIP passes. Triumphant they enter. Li Ping is impressed. The interior screams of luxury. The VIP section is filled with shadowy figures. A man with a pipe, a dwarf riding, a magical construct, and 2 breathtaking beauties radiating divine energy from the Holy Guild. That is an immense concentration of holiness. The blonde is Luna, and the Forsyte. Redhead is Anna. Anna narrows her eyes. Are those intruders on the guest list? Meanwhile, Elizabeth sends the sword boy to fetch refreshments, but the 2 saints analyze them with suspicion. Suddenly, the announcer's voice booms. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the main event. The sword genius of the Holy Guild, the giant, has arrived. From the Iron-Willed Bear Guild comes General Jayla next, the enchanting prodigy of the Elf Guild Travis, and finally, a wildcard entry from the Holy Guild representing the Card faction. But chaos erupts instantly. The goblin leaps from the shadows. The air grows heavy with killing intent. The elf scoffs, dismissing the hulking brute as nothing more than a meat shield. While that maniac roars like a beast, the card user looks fragile, weak, a mere political pawn sent by the Holy Guild. The real threat here is the Azure Swordsman. Suddenly, the brute stomps the ground, launching himself with earth-shattering force. The elf reacts with blinding speed, knocking 3 arrows at once. They fly true, but the target dodges. However, this was a trap. The arrows strike, the earth exploding into ancient roots. The Gumrot spell activates, binding everyone in a prison of living vines. The brute struggles, rage boiling over, but his resistance only feeds the magic. The elf smirks. The harder you fight, the tighter death's embrace becomes. But then, a flash of blue light. The Azure Swordsman draws his blade, severing the unbreakable vines like spiderwebs. The card user remains motionless, a silent observer in the eye of the storm. The swordsman sheathes his blade, apologizing for pruning the greenery. The elf's eyes narrow. The price for his arrogance will be his life. She unleashes the dancing butterfly technique, but the swordsman begins to chant. No fear, no doubt, no confusion. The state of altruism. His bluebird aura rises to meet her magic. But in a split second, the elf's arm is severed. It hits the floor and shatters like glass. The swordsman advances blade leveled at her throat. Checkmate. The elf admits his genius is terrifying, but she is a prodigy too. Suddenly, the air fills with explosive mana butterflies. The swordsman is blasted back. When the smoke clears, he stands battered but breathing. The elf spits a seed, forcing instant growth. She plunges her stump into the plant, regenerating her limb, but it twists, malformed and crooked, a grotesque reminder of the brute's earlier interference. The swordsman turns his gaze. It is time to deal with the savage. The samurai senses a disturbing aura from the big guy. But the crowd, they are losing their minds over this blood sport. The swordsman discards his broken arm guard and summons his blade with spiritual energy. The brute laughs. Power is the only absolute truth. He charges, unlocking 70% of his muscular density. The swordsman weaves through the air, landing a clean cut, but the skin doesn't even break. The brute attacks again, 80% output. The swordsman blocks, but the impact sends him flying. His blade bends under the sheer weight. The monster ramps it up to 90%. The swordsman is forced to dodge for his life. Li Ping watches intently. Who will survive? Anna is baffled. A sword forged by rank B dwarves was shattered by a bare fist. Luna suggests stopping the match, but Anna refuses. Not yet. In the VIP box, a nervous executive asks if they should intervene, but the man named B smiles. Let them dance. Don't you agree, boss? The president of the Card Guild, the father of the girl in the arena, sits in silence. But the boy beside him notices the trembling. It isn't fear. It is recognition. The brute wields the taboo magic of the apostles. That is why the president is terrified. He knows our protagonist is watching through his demon familiar. Li Ping is here to witness the birth of a legend, to see if the deck user can live up to the hero's expectations. Down in the arena, the brute is a juggernaut of destruction. The Azure Swordsman can only retreat. The brute rips up the arena floor, snapping it like a bedsheet to trap him. Caught in midair, the swordsman is slammed into the earth, buried under a tomb of debris. The brute reaches out to crush him, but, a microscopic cut opens on his finger. He steps back and his entire hand slides off. The brute roars in disbelief. The swordsman rises, aura flaring, no fear, no doubt. The state of altruism, he has ascended mid-battle. The brute tries to counter, but an invisible slash brings him to his knees. Agony rips through him. The swordsman offers mercy. This is your final chance. Yield. But the brute spits blood. He refuses to be a stepping stone. He remembers the forbidden power. The swordsman warns him, abandon the Black Guild's corruption, and you may live. Instead, the brute crunches a demonic pill. He seeks the realm of the Demon King, but before the transformation can finish, his head flies from his shoulders. It rolls across the floor, stopping at the feet of the card user, the very elf girl. Our protagonist saved flashback to the Card Guild. She practiced relentlessly, sipping the spiritual tea, brewed from the herbs our boy gifted her. Her evolution was rapid. When her father returned from the crusade against the Holy Guild's enemies, he brought a reward. She thought it was the spoils of war, but it was a golden ticket, a direct qualification for the finals. If she claims victory, the Card Guild will finally ascend to official status. Doubts plagued her. How could she stand against true geniuses? But her father was firm. The past is gone. They have evolved. She is not the same weakling she once was. He hands her the legendary deck of Li Ping. With this artifact, she is invincible. Back in the present, amidst the tangled vines, she clutches the deck. Even with this power, with my current spiritual energy, I can only manifest 6 cards simultaneously. For the rest of this duel, I must rely on mere replicas, which means the destructive force of my attacks will be severely crippled. But retreat is not an option. In this world, determination is the only currency that matters. Reaching for her belt, she unleashes the technique card cut. The razor-sharp edge slices through the vines, freeing her in an instant. However, that severed devilish head on the ground seems to pulse with a life of its own. The blue blade speaks, his voice dripping with arrogance. Hiding your true strength until the endgame was a decent strategy. But you are simply not in my league. Admit defeat now, and I might spare you. The guild owes you a favor after all, and I have no desire to crush a fragile flower. It is his final warning. The crowd watches in confusion, fighting with nothing but cards. Ignoring his taunts, she launches a flying blade from her poker arsenal. The blue blade sneers. I see through you. These feints are just a distraction to prepare your real strike. But I won't give you the luxury of time. His killing intent flares as he prepares to blitz her. Panic flickers in her eyes. He saw through her plan too easily. But instinct takes over. She executes a backward shadow step, using a card as a platform to launch herself into the air. From high above, she rains down a barrage of mystic projectiles. The blue blade leaps, weaving through the storm with terrifying agility. She counters with a circular formation of cards, trapping him. He blocks, but the trap triggers. The cards swarm his blade and body, sapping his ki instantly. The blue blade's expression darkens. This is foolishness. If you force me to get serious, you will lose your life. She grit her teeth. She just needed a few more seconds to complete the incantation. Raising her hands, she commands the deck. Release. Mana explodes outwards, forming a colossal dragon of spades. The entire arena holds its breath. Even the dwarf observer leans in, desperate to know the creator of such versatile artifacts. The audience is losing their minds. Are those really just cards? How is that level of manifestation even possible? But the blue blade is done playing games. He activates his spirit avatar to the maximum level. A massive blue phoenix of energy screams towards her dragon. The two mythical beasts collide in the center of the arena. A shockwave blasts through the stadium. But in the smoke, her construct shatters. Her cards disintegrate and rain down like ash. Despair washes over her. He's a monster. There is no way to win this with just replicas. She trembles, afraid to unseal her true deck, fearing the chaotic power it holds. The blue blade sees his opening and goes for the kill. You forced my hand. He unleashes a devastating slash, cutting through her remaining defenses. She hits the ground, hard defeated. Looking down at her, he declares coldly, "It is over." She closes her eyes, accepting her fate. It's okay. I lost. There's no point in struggling anymore. But suddenly behind the blue blade, a dark presence lunges. The severed head flies through the air and burrows directly into his skull. His eyes roll back, turning a glowing demonic purple. He has been possessed. The creature that was severed has now hijacked his body as a vessel. The great apostle speaks through stolen lips. This physical shell, it is acceptable. Now how does this sword key work? Without hesitation, the possessed maniac launches an attack on the spectators. Thankfully, the protective barrier holds, or the civilians would have been massacred. Li Ping turns to Queen Elizabeth. Should we intervene? The Queen's eyes remain cold. No. If he wishes to dominate this world, he must adapt to these variables. These are merely small ripples. Far greater calamities await him. Li Ping nods, accepting her ruthless logic. Meanwhile, the girl's father watches in pure terror. Damn it. They knew an invasion was coming. He realizes this was a test. I need to show a legendary performance to satisfy Mr. Li Ping and the queen. The old elder beside him whispers, "If you step in to save your daughter now, you admit weakness. You'll prove we lack the fighters to handle the Black Guild. And when the Holy Sword faction seeks allies, they will bypass us entirely." The pressure is suffocating. But in the arena, the devil has taken the brain, and the elf girl is furious. Rage burns away her fear. She despises the Black Guild more than anything. If her opponent is a monster, she no longer needs to hold back. She activates the forbidden deck. The possessed apostle pauses confused. What is this energy? Her magical power. It just skyrocketed. I must eliminate her immediately. He fires a lethal blast of energy. But from thin air, a towering knight with a great shield materializes to block the impact. Li Ping raises an eyebrow. Huh, that silhouette looks familiar. The dwarf and the analysts are losing their minds. Wait a second. This is leagues above her previous deck. If I'm not mistaken, is that a phantom of the 13 Sacred Knights? The elder turns to the father, eyes wide. Boss, is this the same secret technique you used to crush the 6 demon pillars? The father sweats nervously. I summoned number 9 back then. She is only channeling number 5. I just pray. It is enough. She commands the cards with renewed fury. Release that body, you filth. The creature dodges, startled by the intensity. Damn, how does she store so much strength in paper cards? He jumps, thinking he has escaped, but he slams directly into the shield of a second knight. The impact sends him flying. Like a pinball, he is smashed from one knight to another. They bounce the demon around the arena with brutal precision. He manages a desperate blade strike to stabilize in midair, but the shield knight appears behind him, trapping him in a spatial box. She clenches her fist. Crush him. 4 knights materialize from the cardinal directions. They focus all their gravity pressure onto the apostle. Under the immense weight, the demon shrinks, his bones cracking. Destroyed and broken, he crashes into the arena floor. And speaking of crushing it, Li Ping is pointing at you to smash that like button, my brother. Don't you remember? The last chapter ended right in the heat of Yifu's battle. She managed to defeat the blue sword just as the spirit possessed him. High in the stands, her father looks down with relief. Li Ping and the demon queen must be pleased with this display, right? While Li Ping chats with the queen, realization suddenly hits him. Whoa. Is that Ilu? No wonder the energy felt so familiar. Do you remember them, Elizabeth? It was the father and daughter duo we saved back then. But Elizabeth ignores him completely. She stares down at her father with an intense, unreadable gaze. Who exactly is this man? They finally stepped out of the shadows. The poor Duke was trembling like a leaf in a storm. He stammered, "Are you both here? I dared not ruin your observation of the event, which is why I remained silent. Please forgive my rudeness." The Duke was quaking with pure terror. Now that Li Ping had acknowledged him, he hastily stood up. "Greetings, Uncle Az. I expected you came. I witnessed Ilu's battle earlier, and I have a mountain of questions for you." The Duke turned pale, his insecurity skyrocketing. Questions. Was the Great One unsatisfied with their mastery of the cards? The Sword Saint, beside him, was baffled. Who was this mere child, and why was the mighty Duke bowing his head in such reverence? The scene shifts to the grand banquet hall. The elite had gathered. Li Ping whispered to the queen, "Why did they invite us here?" Elizabeth scoffed, "It matters not. You should use this chance to study this realm. You will need the experience for the many meetings you shall hold when you rule the world." Li Ping sighed, "Please lower your voice. Do not give them the wrong idea about world domination." The Sword Saint turned to the Duke, praising him. That victory was magnificent. However, the Duke shook his head. "Old man of the sword, hold your praise. First, I must introduce our esteemed guests. This young man saved my daughter from the apostles of darkness. This is Mr. Li Ping. And the woman beside him is..." The Duke froze, his voice dying in his throat. As the queen's gaze pierced through him like a blade, father and daughter flinched. "We cannot speak her name," the Sword Saint asked. "What is wrong?" The Duke wanted to speak, but he knew the truth. There was an invisible blade at his neck. If he spoke, he would die. Li Ping, seeing this, smiled warmly. "The Duke is so considerate. He is afraid of exposing Elizabeth's identity and causing trouble for us." He leaned in to whisper, "Hey, Elizabeth, let us keep a low profile. Can you play the role of a novice princess? It is better to hide your true nature." She flipped her hair and replied, "Fine, it matters not." Li Ping addressed the table. "We hail from a tiny nation in the south. I am but a humble minister there, Li Ping. And this person beside me is our princess. The butler sneered. A southern princess, that is my homeland, yet I have never heard of you. The Duke cut him off loudly. Mr. Li Ping is a master who taught me card skills. Li Ping waved his hands. You exaggerate, I do not possess such divine talent. I actually came hoping to learn swordsmanship from you masters, Luna whispered to the blue sword. Did you hear that mockery? A creator of such god-tier cards wants to learn basic swordplay? What is his game? The blue sword narrowed his eyes. Tread carefully. This is not the place to question a monster's motives. Ilu gulped down her nervousness and asked Mr. Li Ping, did you see my duel? Was my performance worthy? Li Ping blinked, confused. Skills, what is she? Talking about the Duke, interjected in panic. Please be honest with us, were we lacking in some way? But Li Ping frowned. I have no complaints. I just never expected you to utilize my cards in such a unique way. The Duke broke into a cold sweat and began to apologize. I was foolish. I had the idiotic idea to copy your cards and form a guild without permission. Elf Girl also bowed her head in shame, but Li Ping's expression brightened instantly. What are you apologizing for? This allows way more people to participate in the games. It is fantastic. Yifu asked. Are you saying that because the cards empower the common folk, it is good because ordinary people can learn? The Duke nodded. It must be a chance to promote the guild. Li Ping thought to himself, oh, damn it. They are talking about magical power, not just the card game. The man with the monocle analyzed them silently. Interesting. The girl holds dominant magic, yet the boy. Absolute suppression, I cannot see a thing. He activated his demonic lens. Suddenly, Elizabeth's eyes locked onto him. Terror struck the spy. Damn it, did she sense me? Impossible. My lens leaves no trace. So what is this crushing pressure? Elizabeth turned to Li Ping, her voice cold. I wish to slaughter one of these insects. Li Ping panicked. What do you mean? He quickly produced a pudding. Save your questions for later. Here, eat this, she instantly transformed into a happy foodie, devouring the sweet treat. The sword saint cleared his throat. Enough pleasantries. Let us return to the crisis at hand. With the competition underway, I formed this alliance to discuss a strategy. We must urgently eradicate the Black Guild. A servant placed a heavy bag on the table. It spilled open, revealing twisted metal gears salvaged from the championship players. Li Ping asked, Black gears, what are those? The Duke explained darkly. When one accepts the Black Guild's contract, these parasites are implanted. They feed on the host, growing alongside their power. The drunken dwarf slammed his fist. 30 gears found in one tournament, the corruption runs deep. Luna frowned. But the brute passed the sword purification test. Did he accept the dark power after being qualified? Anna shook her head, her voice grave. Or perhaps, the Black Guild has found a way to deceive the very laws of purification. The strategist adjusts his monocle, his voice grave, as he breaks down the mechanics of corruption. The sensors only detect those with a dangerously low fusion rate. Most carriers walk among us unseen. However, the weak-willed, the moment they accept the gear, they lose their minds and mutate into mindless apostles. In the second scenario, a warrior might resist the madness, yet they lack control. They evolve into the terrifying great apostles, beasts of pure instinct. But the true nightmare is the third case. If one can fully dominate the Demon King's artifact, they ascend as a pillar, a direct servant to the throne. Yet make no mistake, freedom is an illusion. Bound by a blood pact, they are forced into eternal loyalty to the one who bestowed the dark gift. The blue sword shudders, a cold sweat forming on his brow. Then, I stood on the precipice of becoming a black apostle myself. The strategist shakes his head. Hard to say. But given your high specs, had the darkness taken you, a new pillar would have risen to terrorize the world. The sword elder lets out a breath he'd been holding. Heaven had mercy. Without the guildmaster's intervention, my old bones would be dust by now. The cardmaster Yu's father nods solemnly. I once served the Holy Guild. Honor demanded I step into the fray. The blue sword clenches his fist in frustration. When the shadows fell, I was away on a crusade. I failed to stop the apostles then, but witnessing the cardmaster obliterate one of the 6 pillars. My defeat is bitter, yet I accept it. Ilyu, your strength is undeniable. Ilyu shakes her head, pointing to the silent protagonist. Do not praise me. I am but a vessel. All this power flows from him, Li Ping. The dwarf's eyes widen, greed for craftsmanship sparking. Lad, where did you learn such divine inscription? Are you a grandmaster blacksmith? He stares at the blade on Li Ping's back, sensing an aura that screams of legendary tier. That weapon. It's no ordinary steel. It's a masterpiece. Leping shrugs the picture of nonchalance. Just a hobby. I tinker at home to kill time. No legendary forge, just simple handiwork. The dwarf is floored by his humility, while Luna chimes in. If the Sword Saint were here, the Black Guild wouldn't dare breathe in our direction. Leping turns to the boss. This Sword Saint. Does he truly stand at the apex of all swordsmen? Where is this legend now? The Guildmaster's expression darkens. I left that life behind. The affairs of the Holy Guild are no longer my burden to weigh. The Sword Elder intervenes, his voice trembling. Master, we cannot veil the truth forever. The whispers are already spreading like a plague. The guy with the monocle adjusts his glasses, the light reflecting ominously. The rebellion crippled the Holy Guild. Their military might has fractured, but the catastrophic blow, the Sword Saint, has vanished from the face of the earth. The Black Guild sensed weakness and struck. The Sword Elder nods grimly. We received a missive 6 months ago. Since then, only silence has echoed from his sanctuary. Leping narrows his eyes. A rebellion. The strongest human vanished. This story runs deeper than I thought. The butler steps forward to clarify. He departed to execute judgment on the Axe Elder, a traitor to the cause. He never returned. The Blue Sword adds, I was sent to scout the aftermath. I expected to find the saint, but I found only emptiness. Luna gasps her hand over her mouth. But he is the Sword Saint invincible. How could a mere traitor bring a god to his knees? His power is absolute, the Blue Sword agrees. But the mountain, it was severed. The landscape was erased from existence. Whatever clashed there, it wasn't a duel. It was a cataclysm. Half the region was leveled to flat earth. The Sword Elder reveals the horror. The Axe Elder acquired a forbidden artifact, a supreme magic weapon known as the Demon's Burial, a colossal axe radiating pure malice. It feeds on resentment, granting its wielder strength that rivals the heavens themselves. That accursed power bridged the gap between man and saint. The dwarf scoffs, impossible. I know every rank S weapon in the kingdoms. This Demon's Burial exists in no records. The Black Guild forged a nightmare. Leping looks at Ilyu, confusion in his eyes. This traitor. Who was he to the guild? Why turn his back on the light? The boss sighs. Beneath the Sword Saint stood the 5 pillars of order. They were the guardians who guided the disciples. The Axe Elder sat at the war table. Alongside him were the masters of dagger, spear, shield, and sword. But corruption strikes swiftly. The Axe Elder defected to the shadows, igniting a civil war from within the sanctuary. Blood flowed like water. He slaughtered the spear and dagger elders personally. The shield elder fell, holding the line against the darkness. The sword elder lowers his head. I am the last ember of that fire. The rebellion claimed many souls, even those of my own blood. Even my prized son, Sir Buckthorn Tyrus, spat on his vows and joined the enemy. Leping pauses. Tyrus, the centaur swordsman. The old man looks up, hope warring with dread. Yes, that is my boy. Tell me, how does he fare? Leping's voice is cold steel. He is dead. Silence stretches. The father closes his eyes, his expression hardening. So be it. That is the only fate suitable for a traitor. We mourn only heroes here. The dwarf slams his fist on the table. My kingdom stands with you. We will forge arms, though. Rank S materials are scarce without the stones. The strategist pushes his glasses up. Sword Elder analyzed the variables. Even with aid, the probability of victory is near 0. The era is chaotic. What variable gives you confidence against the Black Guild's overwhelming might? The Sword Elder turns to the Guildmaster, eyes burning with conviction. The variable is him. He must cast aside this card guild and reclaim his throne as vice president. Within the hallowed halls of the Holy Guild, the tension was palpable. The boss turned to the elder, his voice heavy. You wish for me to return, to reclaim my seat as vice president after all this time. It feels out of place. Yet the Sword Elder's gaze remained ironclad. If I deem you worthy, then you are. Listen well. Your cards, they are weapons of war no different than a dagger or a throwing knife. We shall establish a specialized unit. And Ilu, he shall remain as an elder. Ilu trembled, sweat beading on his forehead, looking like a deer in headlights. Wait me, I possess neither the strength nor the merit to lead within the Holy Guild. The Sword Elder ignored the outburst, locking eyes with the boss. Agree to this and the path forward becomes clear. The Guild's vast treasury, consider it yours to command. Even I would bow to your will, the elder added. The butler stepped forward, his voice smooth. Master, consider the efficiency. Rebuilding from ashes is arduous work. It is far simpler to steer a ship already built. The boss shifted his gaze to Leping. What say you, kid? With the Holy Guild's backing, the art of the card would spread like wildfire. Leping blinked, feigning innocence. Are you seeking my counsel? Well, in my homeland, we have an ancient proverb. It is easy to climb the ladder of a giant corporation. Safe, secure. But to build an empire from the dirt, that is a path of thorns. However, true conquerors always choose to forge their own destiny. They build their own thrones. Li Ping smirked. The choice, sir, rests in your hands. The boss understood the hidden test immediately. Asterisk. He is asking me, do I wish to be a mere ornament in someone else's castle, or a king in my own right? Asterisk. Asterisk. If I lack ambition after all he has gifted me, I am worthless. Asterisk. Yet hesitation lingered. The Sword Elder's pressure was like a mountain weighing down on him. Asterisk. To refuse now is to slap the face of the most powerful faction. Asterisk. Sensing the conflict, the Sword Elder pressed on. Boss, if the terms displease, you name your price. Tell me your conditions. But the boss rose from his seat, his presence suddenly expanding. Elders speak no more. I did not forge my guild for something as trivial as gold or glory. I built it to perfect the art of the card, to reach the pinnacle. He glanced at his mentor. Li Ping, do you witness my resolve? It is unbreakable. The Sword Elder recoiled stunned. Boss, have you truly lost your mind? Asterisk. Have you thought this through times? The Elder narrowed his eyes at Li Ping. Asterisk. I sense zero mana from this boy. Yet he claims to be the teacher. Asterisk. Asterisk, he must be masking his true power. Asterisk, aloud. Li Ping nodded. Understood, boss. But internally he was weeping. Asterisk. Damn it, there goes my chance to learn free swordsmanship. Asterisk. Asterisk. I wanted to use their library times. The boss interrupted his thoughts. Elder, though I refuse the title, fear not. The destruction of the Black Guild remains my priority. I will rain down hell upon them with full support. The Sword Elder exhaled, resigning himself to the outcome. Very well. The pact is sealed. In exchange for your aid, the Holy Guild formally recognizes the Card Guild as a legitimate power. Li Ping smiled, a glint of approval in his eyes. You have grown a spine, boss. That was quite brave. The boss bowed slightly. I only strive to meet your expectations, Mr. Li Ping. Yifu clenched her fist. I too shall redouble my efforts. The Sword Elder then turned his sharp gaze to the dwarf. Prince, when will the king end his seclusion? We need rank A and S-class armaments. Now. The dwarf prince hesitated. I cannot speak of royal matters. He sighed. But the truth. We are paralyzed. We lack the sacred grinding stones. They have vanished from the kingdom. And those arrogant fools in the Aristotelian Empire have embargoed all trade. My father has locked himself away to find a synthetic alternative. The elder shifted focus to Togor, the man with the monocle. And you, mage, can you supply combat magic? Togor adjusted his eyewear light, reflecting off the lens. I remain neutral in your politics, but if you require only destruction spells, that I can provide. Good, the Sword Elder declared. Then let us formalize this alliance. In 2 months we march. Use this time to sharpen your blades and resolve your affairs. Now, are there any final inquiries? Li Ping's hand shot up. I have a request. I wish to join the Holy Guild. The Elder blinked. You wish to fight on the front lines against the Black Guild? Oh heavens no, Li Ping chuckled. I merely wish to enroll as a student. My growth has stalled, and as they say, the path of learning is endless. The boss and Yifu stared at him, jaws dropped. You, the master of strategy. You want to swing a sword? Li Ping shrugged. Do not look at me like that. It was the princess's decree. If you have complaints, take them up with Her Highness. In the corner, Elizabeth was in paradise, a spoon in her mouth. The pudding was replenishing itself, true high-tier magic. Naturally, no one dared question the queen. A simple request, the elder noted. But the sword has many paths. Tell me, boy, what is your mana affinity? Li Ping scratched his cheek, looking away. Ah, well. I tested it recently. It is somewhat modest. He whispered, 0. I have absolutely no talent for magic. The butler scoffed. Impossible. Without mana, you cannot imbue the blade. The elder's techniques would be useless to a cripple like you. Li Ping remained undeterred. Is there nothing? Perhaps a pure physical art. The way of the sword before magic corrupted it. The elder's expression darkened. There is such a path, but only one soul has mastered it. Our missing president. The sword saint. If you can locate her, perhaps she will humor you. The boss nodded solemnly. Li Ping, if anyone can teach you, it is that woman. Asterisk. Great times, Li Ping thought, slumping. Asterisk. They're just tossing me around like a hot potato, sending me on a wild goose chase to get rid of me. Asterisk. Suddenly, Togor spoke up. Hold a moment. He began scribbling furiously, a glowing rune circle manifesting in the air. I stumbled upon a fascinating spell recently. Sword magic. Togor explained, the parchment floating into Li Ping's hands. It might serve as a substitute. Li Ping squinted at the complex glyphs. And how exactly do I activate this? Beside him, the infinite pudding bowl finally ran dry. Li Ping shoved the scroll in Elizabeth's face. Hey glutton, look at this. Can you decipher this mess? With the cold indifference of a tyrant, she finished her dessert. I just finished my pudding, yet you dare bore me with business. The cup shattered in her grip. Pressure crushed Tor into the chair, obliterating his body instantly. She scoffed, wiping her hands. Just an annoying bug who forgot his place in the food chain. The scene shifts to the scorched wasteland, where a massive explosion rocks the earth. Emerging from the dust is a legend. The Sword Saint herself. Standing between a bulky warrior and a skinny coward, our hero Chio Sagas radiates killing intent. Stop hiding, reveal yourself, traitor. The Elder of the Axe steps forth unfazed. What is your quarrel, little girl? Why have you come to disturb the peace? Chio's eyes narrow. I am here to purge your corruption. Joining the Black Guild was your final mistake. She raises her hand, unleashing a blade of invisible force. The attack tears the desert horizon in two, but the Elder defends a sinister black aura flaring around him to deflect the strike. Chio dodges the backlash with ease. The Axe Master laughs. The integration between my soul and the demon burial artifact is nearly complete. Your threats are meaningless against a god. He prepares to counterattack. Chio warns him, you fool, that weapon is consuming your mind. If you continue, the artifact will swallow your ego completely. Wake up before you are lost forever. But the corrupted warrior merely grins. Lose myself. To dissolve into supreme power is the ultimate privilege of a martial artist. Witness the birth of the demon body. Dark energy surges through his veins. Suddenly, the madman screams as his flesh begins to warp and twist in a grotesque display. What is this? A female form bursts from his chest, speaking with a voice of ancient resentment. You think you can discard me? The transformation accelerates. The old man's body is reshaped, morphing into a stunning yet terrifying woman from the neck down. Chio watches in horror. You idiot. You've been completely parasitized by the black gear. The entity now fully in control touches the old man's face. Are you talking about this shell? She rips the old man's face off like a mask, revealing her true beautiful form beneath. Welcome to the world, she purrs. I am much easier on the eyes now, wouldn't you agree? This is what true evolution looks like. She smooths her hair, radiating overwhelming pressure. Chio wastes no time. I will send you back to the void. She draws her legendary blade. Behold the sword, phantom forged by the Dwarf King. From the bones of the nightmare steed, the unnamed carium metal gleams. She points the divine weapon at the entity. Prepare yourself, monster. The air trembles as the Sword Saint channels her energy. Mist severing slash. The entire battlefield erupts. Sand rises like a tsunami, and a massive crater opens in the earth. Chio sheathes her blade. The Elder is dead. No mercy for the corrupted. But suddenly, a hairline fracture appears on her invincible sword. The demoness turns. My body felt a gentle breeze, the monster mocks. If that is the extent of a Sword Saint's power, I am disappointed. Chio's blood runs cold. Her strongest attack didn't even leave a scratch. The demoness cracks her knuckles. Do you have any other parlor tricks? If you are finished, I shall begin my warm-up. Try not to die too quickly. The pressure in the air becomes suffocating. The demoness casually stretches her legs and arms, mocking the gravity of the battle. Desperate Chio summons her entire arsenal. She grabs a forbidden scroll and activates weapon fusion. Spears, scythes, and daggers merge in a blinding flash of mana. Explosions rock the desert. Her eye glows with a magical pentagram as she casts space distortion, hurling a sphere of dark matter. The attack flies towards the demoness, who is just finishing her transformation, finally feeling relaxed in her new skin. Chio reinforces the spell with 2 ancient scrolls trapping the enemy in a distorted gravity field. The demoness yawns. You underestimate me. Chio grits her teeth. Then take this destruction sorcery, Heaven's Collapse. She slams a warhammer onto the distortion point, compressing the energy of the spear, and scrolls into a single world-ending strike. She unleashes it all, but in 1,000th of a second the demoness smiles. A flicker of movement. Another fraction of a second passes. A slash travels faster than thought, tearing through the Sword Saint's ultimate spell and the desert itself. In 0.4 seconds, the slash is already at her throat. Chio feels the cold embrace of death approaching. 7. Sword Guardian Formation. She screams, summoning her absolute defense. But the demon's strike hits, shattering the spectral swords like glass. 0.05 seconds later, she realizes it is over. There is nothing she can do. The shockwave strikes her defenseless body. In less than half a second, the Sword Saint is crushed. She falls to the sand, defeated. The demoness looks down from the sky. How inadequate, she sighs. Now that I am warmed up, it is time to deal with the real objective. The axe demon activates her sight. Her clairvoyant eye scans the globe, traversing continents in a heartbeat, until her gaze locks onto a specific target. Elizabeth. Found you, she whispers, preparing to fly. Meanwhile, Elizabeth is sprinting to the kitchen to grab snacks and a controller. Master Li Ping, you were always right, she declares. Staying home, eating potato chips, and watching TV is the true path. Let someone else dominate the world. Li Ping collapses onto the couch, completely drained. Man, I am mentally exhausted. This overlord business is not for me. The queen chuckles, agreeing to support his lazy lifestyle from now on. Li Ping sighs, grabbing a snack. Hey Elizabeth, you should have warned me before doing something that tiring, she crunches happily on a chip. The tension in the room skyrocketed instantly, snapping back to the moment the imposter Tagore detonated. The explosion sent shockwaves through the hall. The butler drew his blade with lightning speed, fierce killing intent flooding the area. Even the battered blue sword saint summoned the last dregs of his aura for battle. But the dwarf sat casually, sipping his wine and grinning. The real entertainment starts now. Meanwhile, the guildmaster stood, imposing order over the chaos. Calm yourselves. He turned his gaze to Leping. Sir, can you explain this madness? Leping stood frozen, his mind completely blank. Before he could stammer a word, Elizabeth stepped forward. With your pathetic level of perception, it is no wonder the Black Guild infiltrated your ranks like vermin. Leping blinked in confusion. What did she mean? Elizabeth commanded the room's attention. She unleashed a spell of absolute deconstruction, targeting the remains of Now, the fake Tagore. The illusion shattered, revealing a grotesque parasite writhing on the floor. The vile creature scanned the room for a new host. It locked eyes with Leping and lunged. Leping recoiled in terror as the beast flew toward him, screeching with hunger, but Elizabeth simply watched with cold eyes. She curled her pinky finger, and pure mana crushed the creature instantly. Devastating pressure flattened it into paste. The butler watched in horror, realizing Tagore's body was dissolving into nothingness. His very flesh was a construct of dark spells. Luna gasped. To think a titan like Tagore had fallen to the Black Guild. Anna narrowed her eyes. It makes sense now. They recruit through temptation and force. Even the strong cannot refuse. But Elizabeth scoffed. Their techniques are laughable. Nothing but a collection of idiotic gears and scrap metal. Leping bit his nails, trembling like a leaf. Terrifying thoughts racing through his mind. If that thing bit me, I'd be dead. The old sword saint stepped forward, demandingly asking Elizabeth how she detected the parasite. She shot him a glare sharp enough to cut steel. None of your business. The old man's face flushed with rage. He felt his pride shattering. The Holy Guild may be weakened, but I will not tolerate such disrespect from a junior. The poor guildmaster felt a headache coming on. This situation was spiraling out of control. The old saint was sensitive about his reputation, but he had no idea he was standing before a monster far beyond his comprehension. If he offended the queen, the consequences would be catastrophic for everyone. The guildmaster tried to intervene. Mr. Leping, please shed some light on this. But Leping whispered, I don't understand anything either. Suddenly, Elizabeth grabbed his arm, pressing him against her chest, suffocating him in her soft embrace. She dragged him toward the exit. It is time for afternoon tea. We are leaving. Helpless against her strength, Leping waved awkwardly. Until next time. The guildmaster watched them go, realizing with dread that the burden of explanation now fell entirely on him. How am I supposed to explain this disaster to the chief? Despair washed over him. Elizabeth glanced back, silently asking if he was done. The boss remained silent, accepting his fate. As they left, the old sword saint barked orders to investigate the southern region. Back at the safety of their mansion, Leping collapsed. Next time warn me before you start a scene. My heart can't take these surprises. Elizabeth ignored his whining, analyzing the situation. Two facts are certain. That duplicate was forged by the Eye of Jim, the legendary red-eyed demon. Secondly, the dark mana signature was unique, completely different from the standard Black Guild corruption. Clearly, hidden forces even more ancient and terrifying are at play, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. However, perhaps it matters little. Amelia has already annihilated the Black Guild's headquarters, devastating them completely. All that remains are stray dogs, minor demons for Leping to practice on. Leping lay on the couch, traumatized. That parasite nearly killed me. How did you sense it was evil? Teach me that spell. It must be high-tier magic, right? I have zero talent for mana. Elizabeth sighed, analyzing him. To use the Eye of Truth, one must see the reflection of mana itself. You would need power rivaling mine to attempt it. However, your attire, possesses a unique enchantment. It detects malicious intent instinctively, before the enemy even strikes. In her mind, she heard Leping's arrogant inner voice. Just admit it, my gear is superior to your magic. Furious, she aggressively crunched a potato chip. I refuse. I will never teach you anything. Leping sat up. Desperate. Then what should I do? Is swinging a sword 1,000 times a day enough? I need actual skills. Devastating moves. The holy sword saint is gone. Why don't you become my master? Elizabeth shook her head. Remember our contract. 3 absolute conditions. First, you must conquer the world using only your own swordsmanship and magic. Second, aside from your clothes, you cannot use any other cheat items. And third, I will observe, but I will never teach you magic or martial arts. Leping blinked. When did we agree to that? She smirked. Just now. Leping groaned. Fine then. I'll ask Uncle Boss. Even if he's obsessed with cards now, he must know some techniques. Suddenly, a surge of energy. The sword transformed into Alpha. Manifest in the air. Give up, boy. I sense no pure swordsmanship in them. They are unworthy to teach. Teach you anything? Leping asked. What is this pure swordsmanship you keep babbling about? Alpha floated with an air of superiority. It is because they pollute their blade with magic. True swordsmanship belongs only to those who possess no magic at all. Leping pondered this. In a world dominated by mana, everyone uses power to enhance their strikes. It made sense. Suddenly he stood up, eyes shining. He knew what he had to do. Alpha shouted, Wait, I just arrived. But Leping was already gone, rushing off to train. Alpha hovered alone, scanning the room. What is this strange dwelling? Why does he prefer this hovel over ruling the world? Curiosity took over. Alpha examined the strange artifacts, a microwave, a fan, a cleaning robot. What sort of sorcery is this? Suddenly, he felt the cold edge of a blade. A terrifying pressure sliced through him. Pure horror seized his heart. What in the heavens was that energy? Was it Leping? No. He glanced at Elizabeth. Was it her? Impossible. Her killing intent would be far more chaotic. Then the horrifying realization struck him. The aura was coming, from the kitchen utensils. Confusion swirled within him. I am the legendary sacred sword. Why is a mere kitchen knife oppressing me like this? Alpha let out a silent scream of terror. The poor spirit couldn't take it anymore. He fled the room, desperate to escape that suffocating presence. Meanwhile, our protagonist remains blissfully oblivious. Ah, finally found it. Leping picks up an old book. The Tai Chi sword manual. Perfect for health and longevity. Time to stay fit and uncover the mysteries of nature. Leping opens the cover with confidence. I always thought this old thing was trash. Good thing I kept it on the shelf gathering dust. He scans the pages. Damn, 13 moves. They look deceptively simple. Can men and women both use this? More importantly, is this actually useless in combat? He turns to the Demon Queen. He asks if she knows the manual. Can you give me some pointers? But Elizabeth is deep in a potato chip coma. I'm too full to move. Go figure it out yourself, peasant. I'm not leaving this couch. Our hero sighs. Fine then. I'll go find Alpha and test it with him. As he walks out the door, she smirks internally. Fool, you have no idea how to perfect swordsmanship. You'll hit a bottleneck soon enough, and when you fail, I'll step in to guide you. Then, you'll finally understand my absolute superiority. Meanwhile, Leping heads to the garden. He calls out for Alpha, but the spirit is hiding in his sword form. Hey, why have you transformed back into a weapon? If you keep ignoring me, I'll start without your consent. Zero response. Leping shrugs and opens the book. First move. Stretching the arms. Like a dragonfly skimming the water's surface. The scene shifts instantly, 3,000 kilometers away. A massive toad lies broken and beaten. It's Wang Kai's ally. He tries to cast a defensive spell, but it's too late. The demoness stands over him. Killing you will make the others fall in line. She strikes with terrifying agility, a perfect blend of flexibility and raw power. She kicks the toad in the gut. The impact sends him flying. He crashes into the earth, exploding on impact. It's over. The toad lies defeated with a gaping hole in his chest. She turns away coldly. So many high-level creatures protecting one dog. But I've had enough. I will exterminate them all. You can no longer hide behind your minions. From today on, your peaceful days are history. Suddenly, a golden barrier manifests in the sky. Standing atop the fallen toad is Wang Kai. His expression is calm, deadly calm. The demoness freezes. Finally, an enemy worth my time. Wang Kai simply looks down and barks. The toad wheezes. Since you're taking over, I'll rest. He vanishes into smoke. The demoness sneers. If you value your life, mutt, you'd better get out of my way. Wang Kai initiates his combat analysis. Target not on the whitelist. Threat level catastrophic. He activates the supreme rule. No one disturbs the master. Direct risk increased to level 3. Elimination mode engaged. He launches a barrage of spiritual missiles. The entire battlefield is engulfed in flames. Meanwhile, far away, our boy is just enjoying his Tai Chi. After a while, he wipes his brow. Wow. I actually nailed every move. Guess it's not that difficult after all. Suddenly, the sword in his hand transforms. Our protagonist blinks. Alpha, what's going on? But as he looks closer, he sees the spirit cultivating. Alpha opens his eyes slowly. I have finally recovered. Li Ping scratches his head. Hey, got any tips on that swordsmanship? Alpha looks confused. Swordsmanship. What is this supreme being talking about? Li Ping pats his head gently. I know. These moves are just for exercise. Probably useless in a real fight, right, Mose? However, Alpha's mind is racing with a different truth. The weapons inside that house. Their aura was suffocating. That's why he fled and passed out on the tree stump. His soul had been suppressed so heavily he reverted to a mere object. He had become a sword without consciousness. But then, Li Ping picked him up. If the master hadn't practiced those divine movements, if he hadn't infused his energy, Alpha would have remained a lifeless metal bar forever. But why? Why did he save a wretch like me? Why act so humble about this god-tier training? Then a terrifying thought strikes him. He imagines Li Ping's voice echoing in the void. My little boy, the seas are deep, are they not? Now you understand why I never cared about the demon queen. Compared to the power I hold, you are just a piece of garbage. Alpha trembles in awe and fear. Forgive me, my lord, I was foolish. An existential crisis hits him hard. Why am I here? What am I? I know nothing. Overwhelmed by his own insignificance, he turns back into a sword. I must escape this place. He flies away. Li Ping shouts, wait, I need a teacher. Back at the battlefield, explosions tear the sky apart. The demoness is panting, worn down by the assault. Are you insane? Are you really going to be a lackey for eternity? Cooperate with me? Let's destroy this rotten world together. But Wang Kai just stares. Bark, the demoness scoffs. Ungrateful beast. I only asked for cooperation to save time. Do not think I fear you. She prepares her ultimate attack, A/, capable of severing reality, but Wang Kai simply hops to the side. The attack misses him, but tears the earth asunder. The ground splits open. Wang Kai analyzes the trajectory instantly. Calculation complete. Strike will reach Earth's core. Result, magma eruption. Consequence, Master's nap will be disturbed. Unacceptable. It must be stopped at all costs. He intervenes, catching the world-ending attack with his bare paws. She grins. Got you. She strikes to kill, but Wang Kai is ready. He reveals a hidden arm and intercepts the blow. Then the absorption begins. Both of her attacks vanish into the void. Like raw fuel, they only serve to charge his batteries. Enraged, the demoness roars. You wretched cur. You dare devour my spiritual energy. Wang Kai smirks with arrogant gratitude. Thanks for the meal. If you wish to flee, I shall grant you mercy. But mercy is not an option. She unsheathes the demon burial blade. This strike was forged to slay a heartless monster, but you leave me no choice. Prepare to face your end, mongrel. She begins to chant the curse of the ancients. The eternal torment. The crushing weight of false hope. The endless despair. The rage of abandonment. 500 years of accumulated resentment. The aura gathers a singularity of pure hatred ready to detonate. Filthy dog, witness the weight of my sorrow. You shall be cleaved in twain and erased from existence. She unleashes her ultimate calamity. Yet Wang Kai stands unmoved, scratching an itch with utter boredom. Suddenly, he reveals his trump card. A small, flawless mirror emerges from behind him. It is the absolute reflector, a divine artifact crafted by Li Ping himself. The apocalyptic blast strikes the glass surface and rebounds instantly. The demoness freezes in confusion. Even the axe of the void cannot comprehend this reversal. The beam shoots into the galaxy, obliterating distant planets in a cosmic fireworks display. The poor entity stands paralyzed. My 500 years of hatred, gone. Just like that, Wang Kai wastes no time and deploys the swarm. Drone units activate. She tries to counter, but the mechanical guardians are too fast. They lock her within an inescapable barrier formation. Wang Kai yawns, lying down comfortably. Another powerful jade beauty trying to kill me. How original. After his last brutal fight, he made sure to prepare for this exact scenario. Increase output to 50%. The barrier hums with lethal energy. Her form begins to disintegrate. No, it cannot end like this. She screams in defiance, refusing to fade, but the dial hits 100%. The weapon's eye overloads. A blinding explosion consumes everything. As the dust settles, Wang Kai stretches his limbs. Enemies are getting stronger these days. I need to upgrade my cultivation. But suddenly, the earth trembles. A hand bursts from the soil, shocking Wang Kai to his core. Look who refuses to stay dead. It is the Sword Saint. She has returned to give our boy a harsh lesson in humility. A legendary divine pendant had shielded her from death's door. Meanwhile, back at the residence, Elizabeth is channel surfing, growing irritated. Ugh, these mortal commercials are a plague upon my eyes. So many ads, I must command Li Ping to purchase the VIP premium status. But then a tragedy strikes. She realizes the snack bag is empty. She peers into the abyss of the packaging. Ah, the crumbs. The nectar of the gods lies at the bottom. She sticks her thumb in without shame. Delicious. Licking the flavor dust is the true path to satisfaction. She tosses the trash, sliding into her slippers. Time for an inspection. She heads for the door. It is almost time. Li Ping must be in agony from the hellish training. He has no clue how much blood and sweat I shed to master the Tao of the sword. Just when you are broken, when you think the peak is unreachable, that is when I shall appear like a goddess to guide you. Compared to him, I am truly a titan of power. She bursts into the room. You aren't slacking off, are you? How goes the cultivation? I have come to check your progress. Li Ping responds calmly. Elizabeth, you have arrived. My apologies, I did not sense your presence. I was deep in a state of meditation. A vein pops on her forehead. Meditation, is that all? You look rested, but I think you are confused. Disciple, you were tasked with practicing swordsmanship, not sleeping with your eyes open. Li Ping gently presses his wooden blade against her cheek. Do you deem this useless? These are the foundations of strength. Cultivating the vessel and the spirit is paramount. While you were feasting on junk food and napping, I have mastered the 13 forms of the grand ultimate sword style. Shall I demonstrate the Tao I have comprehended? Perhaps you can offer guidance. His aura shifts. The air grows heavy. She laughs, crossing her arms with a smug smirk. Very well then. Proceed, but be warned. If you make a fool of yourself, I will not hold back my mockery. Do you truly believe you can master the blade in such a short time? Li Ping spins the wooden weapon with effortless grace. Watch closely. The essence of Tai Chi is the still mind. Eyes closed. Spine aligned with the heavens. He enters the zone. First form, the dragonfly skims the water. The movement is subtle yet precise. Elizabeth observes her eyes narrowing. Decent force for a single strike. But he is the legendary hero, and I have lived with him for a year. I expect this much. However, it feels too calm. Where is the killing intent? Where is the destructive power required for battle? Li Ping flows into the next stance. Second form. The swallow seizes the insect. Third form, dust, floating in the void. The atmosphere begins to warp. A tornado manifests from thin air swirling around him. Elizabeth flinches, sensing the shift. Wait. The nature of his energy. It is evolving. Li Ping does not stop. Time to shift the stance. He tosses the blade skyward. Fourth form, sudden storm, descends. Elizabeth instinctively channels her own aura. This pressure. How did he reach this realm of mastery so quickly? I cannot let him surpass me. She draws her blade, looking magnificent and fierce. Not bad. Let me show you true power. Li Ping chants. Fifth form, the azure dragon. Rises from the deep. A spectral dragon erupts from the imaginary waters. Elizabeth counters. Demonic sword of destruction release. She summons a chaotic beast to intercept Li Ping's attack. The two avatars collide in a cataclysmic boom. Elizabeth's dark dragon is instantly obliterated. The sky clears, leaving only a peaceful sovereign blue. Elizabeth stands trembling, seething with humiliation. What the hell was that? It makes no sense. Why is the gap between our powers so vast? Ping recites the ancient mantra. When the spirit is calm, the mind lacks nothing. In stillness, you find true peace. Remain unmoved by the chaos of the world. Only then can you grasp the supreme essence of Tai Chi. He dips his hand. Ripples spread across the void, activating the eighth movement. Moon in the water. A spectral moon rises from the depths. A majestic sight. But Elizabeth explodes with rage. Li Ping, you scoundrel, pretending to be weak again. Trying to humiliate me with these parlor tricks, fine. But in the way of the sword, I will never lose to you. The moon expands, dominating the sky. She snarls, time to get serious, no more mercy, but then gravity betrays her. She floats helplessly above the river. Is this bastard manipulating gravity? I won't allow it. She looks around in shock. The world has shifted. She now stands upon the lunar surface he created. Li Ping remains seated, eyes closed in meditation. He continues his cultivation. The mind becomes vast as the cosmos. Thus we comprehend the mysteries of nature. Ninth movement. Meteor striking the moon. The heavens collapse. Elizabeth thinks, damn it all. Every single meteor hits with the force of a forbidden spell, and there are thousands of them. The apocalypse descends. She unleashes her true demon form. My mistake was underestimating him. She slashes, cleaving the moon in half. The meteor shower crashes down. She roars. You are wrong if you think you are my superior. Her blade dances. She cuts through the falling stars. Die. She charges toward Li Ping, who sits unmoving amidst the destruction. My swordsmanship is the strongest in history. She strikes him dead center. His form dissipates like smoke. The lunar landscape shatters. Fear grips her heart. Wait. My killing intent took over. Did I actually kill him? But Li Ping appears in the sky untouched. In the vast emptiness, be sincere and calm. She looks up. She is utterly confused. Ping speaks. The state of mind is infinite. This is the embodiment of Tai Chi. Nature and body as one. 10th movement.